It did mess me up, but I'm okay. So what I want to do is I want to have a kind of a oh fuck, who's calling me? Get the fuck out! Oh my god, are you serious? Fuck me.
Turn your
Jesus Christ.
notifications off. Why don't you turn
Hilarious, chaos.
just turn your notifications off, dude. Easy.
Yeah, if you left click your name at the bottom of Discord, you can go to Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. That's what I'm at. I think.
Yeah. Hello. Who's that? Who's this?
I'm always on
Kano.
that.
Oh, Kano. Oh, what's up? No, nobody's came by. No.
Why can we hear him? I guess he didn't mute.
Okay, I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Okay.
Steve, you need to mute yourself on Discord.
Yeah, dude, we can hear you. Like your private call.
Okay. Okay, I got you. I'll make sure that happens. Okay. I'm in the meeting right now, so let me get back to you. Okay. All right. Sorry, that was Kano. All right. All right. So I want to call a meeting. To kind of go get your guys' input on a lot of stuff. Everything I try to do, I want to get your guys' input on. And there's a lot of things that are like kind of up in the air right now. First, I want to know what do you guys like think so far of like what's the last couple of shows have been? What's your overall impression of as far as the Non Sequitur show in the direction it's going?
Let's go around the room. I think so. Because Nikki is on my screen. Nikki is besides Steve. We'll start with Nikki, then go with Claire, Dapper, Jack, me, Mr. Serious, Rez, RNGD Gaming, and Shesh. So Nikki, go first.
It's definitely gotten better.
From what? From what? I'm sorry.
From the very, very first episode, not the we got to get some shit off our chest episode, but the one after that, the actual proper launch. It's been getting better. The only criticism I have, which you bit your tongue a lot more in this one, was being too caffeinated and being a little too hyper.
Okay.
Outside of that, that's it. I mean, in all honesty, everything else is not really too much of my concern. It's just like I said, that's the only thing I had that was a little bit irritating to me every time I would click on there because I haven't watched every single one because not every single topic interests me. But yeah, it just does seem like it's gone down a better route now. So I mean, as far as the host side, the topics are still interesting. It's just my biggest thing was, and it wasn't just, and there's times where even Chesh falls to this. It's also down to lag and stuff like that. But it just seemed like, from my personal opinion, that I would click on one of the streams and there was a topic, and every single time I did, you were fucking really excited. And it looked like you were really, really, really freaking caffeinated. And it's just like, Steve, chill. But outside of that, no, that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Nikki. Sorry, I muted myself. Al, we'll skip over you because you came in a bit after. So Claire will come in, then Dapper, Jack, then you can come in after Jack, and then Mr. Serious, Rez, RGD Gaming, Shesh, and then I'll go last. But let's go with that, with the same order that we decided before. So Claire, you next.
Okay, this is just about like the channel in general, right? We're not just like talking content or things like that. Well, when I'm looking, it's yeah. Can you hear me? I think the channel itself is doing a great. Like me, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at PR.
Doesn't seem to be there.
No, I'm here. No.
I can hear Claire.
Yeah, we can all hear Claire.
Do you ever turn it down?
I can't hear Claire. No, I haven't. I don't mess with the volumes.
Can you write
right click on her.
Yeah, right click on. You muted
She's
me,
not muted.
Steve. That's so typical. You never listen to me.
You come back in.
Oh,
Shit.
That's
Don't be mean. Wait,
now I
what?
can hit. Now I can hear her.
Okay, that's
Oh,
so
okay.
typical.
It can happen sometimes. Discord,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
it's
I'm
Discord. Okay.
laughing. I'm laughing. So this is basically about the channel and not the individual episodes or anything, right? Like just like a general thing you want to hear.
Yeah, general.
Okay, I got PR issues with you guys because it's not out soon enough. You're not getting the views that you could. It could be much bigger. You are not addressing that you got to promote what it is actually going to be well more ahead of time. A little more organization on the back end on getting your shit together and getting it out there. Sorry, just created a creator. You know I love you both. I love you guys. It's coming from a good place. But creator wise, that's what I'm looking at. But I'm a different kind of creator. Like I get it out there early. I want as many views as I can. I want people to know what I'm going to be talking about well ahead, so the conversations are better
You
in
mean
the
promo,
chat.
right?
Yeah, I mean promo. I mean an exact promo about exactly what it is. You know ahead of time. I think you do know you're working on your guest list, and you can be promoing that guest up, looking at other topics so that the chat is more engaged in what's going on the screen than what's been happening, or at least what I see. This is only my opinion. You know, a bear. But, yeah, you got to get them engaged from the start before your show even happens. Okay.
Yeah. Dapper, you up next, mate.
So
Oh,
in
sorry.
terms of
Sorry, my bad. Claire, did you have anything else to say? I'm so sorry.
No, I think that was a mouthful. Sorry, yeah, but you know.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, Claire. Yes, Dapper. Sorry about that. Floor is yours.
yeah. So I think that overall, what I would say about the direction is, I think what I'm noticing is it's getting a little bit more structured. So there's a little bit more like, here's what we're going to talk about, and having like an order of things to talk about and stuff. Because the first, I'd say, probably 3-ish episodes, maybe 4, were a little bit harder to follow because it just seemed like there's a whole lot of, it was a little bit more chaotic in my opinion in terms of who was going to talk about what when. But I think that's been getting better. The only other like note I have is I think that the quantum gnosis and the is God a metaphysical necessity probably could have been better communicated what those were going to be about before those went live, because I feel like the quantum gnosis, I'm still not entirely sure what that guy was going on about, but then again, he's a crazy man, so who cares?
It's difficult.
Yeah, and then I feel like almost everyone except me expected the is God a metaphysical necessity to go in a very different direction, and I think Steve, you and I were one of the only ones who weren't surprised by what happened there. So
yeah, I was trying to guide it, and because I did read the paper and I know his argument. In fact, if you go to my Facebook page, I put a long thing about his argument, and he has responded to it. But I wasn't able to ask those types of questions.
See, my thing is that I had no idea that it was about a paper.
Yeah, it was about his paper.
No idea about it. That I was under the impression that the topic of the stream would be whether God is a metaphysical necessity or not. So I guess, yeah. So like Claire said, getting more out there what you want to convey.
Yeah, that really wasn't even what the paper was about. It was because he actually he goes from Swinburne's point of view that God is actually contingent in the way he actually argues it. But it's a very nuanced argument. It was requiring trope theory, but we didn't even get into the trope theory because this paper is not arguing that God is necessarily a necessary entity. Is what he's arguing is that that God is the thing that binds all the relationships together, which is a trope.
Well, I don't think we're here to rehash the entire episode.
So it was more nuanced.
Yeah,
I didn't get into that.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a suggestion here. Maybe next time, if there's something that nuanced that needs to be discussed, maybe give a brief introduction in another short video about the topic. And because an audience, like, I'll say it's coming from me as someone, I do follow your content, Steve, but not all of it. So for me, I had no idea what Dr. Sijuwade was talking about. So I was just like, but I could understand what Jim was coming from. So yeah, so maybe that. But yeah, that's me. I'll show myself out. Sorry that.
That's fine.
No, it's all right. And I didn't really have much else to say. That I think that the that over time, as it's getting a little bit, because I think for both hosts, you got to fall into like the sort of the swing of things of how to keep the discussion structured and on track. And I think that overall has shown improvement through the run from what was it, a bit over a month ago until now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's been overall improving, and I think that I think by the time we get to Cindy Lincoln, it was pretty well done. I want to see at least one more debate style thing before I really say whether or not I think you guys have figured out that structure thing to a good degree, but it's definitely on the it's trending in a positive direction, I think. And that's it for me.
Cool. Thank you, Dap.
Yep.
Jack, you up next.
Well, the biggest criticism that hasn't been addressed yet already is the fact that when it comes to reading out super chats, I think that if you're having a debate sort of structured debate kind of thing, you might want to take time to like have a pause to read out super chats, not just interrupt the flow of the conversation, because that's happened quite a few times. And I find because that's happened where you'll have the people talking back and forth, and then you'll interrupt and say, "Oh, we just got a super chat," and say blah blah blah. Maybe just a time to talk about super chats, like have its own dedicated time, maybe in between the rounds.
I might add on to that and just say that there's a difference between, hey, welcome the show back super chat and relevant question super chat. Right.
So yeah. And categorize the super chat, certainly. Aside from that, I haven't had too many complaints that hasn't already been addressed. I will say that maybe like Jim was not the best person to come against Dr. Sijuwade, because Jim is more a science background versus philosophy background, and they're sort of different wheelhouses.
Jim's science? Jim's Hebrew. Science.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
maybe
he studied Bible. So.
Yeah. Jim,
okay.
Jim told me
it's really convenient that that history is a science.
Shut the fuck up.
Jim told me that he had understood Weinberg's argument and that he had read the paper. He knew type distinctions, and I thought that he actually knew about the topic. So that's literally what he had told me. So that's why.
Okay, maybe this is my bias, because I'm used to. I have a science background, and when I think paper, I do not think what that was being discussed. But it's whatever.
Well, yeah, like I said, I thought he understood the concepts being discussed. Like I wasn't able. I would have gone after Jim, because if Jim doesn't know the difference between an abstraction in particular or instantiations of those particulars, or any of the basics of trope theory, which is very complicated, he shouldn't have been in that discussion. But he told me he knew what a type token distinction was. I figured he studied it at some point along in his path.
That's fair enough.
He literally told me he understood it, and I had to I took him as face value.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay, cool. Jack, thanks for that. Al, do you want to come in, or can I maybe then?
I'm not sure, because I kind of missed the beginning. Sorry, I was like.
No, you got there just in time.
Yeah,
you didn't miss anything. We didn't start.
I'm just like, I'm usually not preoccupied, but like literally, I saw you guys in here. I'm like, oh no.
Any sort of thoughts about the current state of the Non Sequitur? Like anything about any of the episodes that happened so far?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have kind of summarized a lot of different things that a lot of people noticed. But one of the things I noticed that is just generally frustrating, that other channels do this, and people have different schedules and different parts of their lives. But when there's like a show going to happen and then it gets canceled, and then like people are like waiting around and have no idea like if it's going to happen or not. That's just like a general frustration. Like the one with Ben, I asked Chesh about it, I think, and she was like, oh, it's canceled. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say, was the fact that there isn't enough interaction with either maybe Facebook, because I don't use Facebook, but certainly Twitter.
I thought
Like
I
if
think-
a show is being cancelled, you kind of need to tell
Yeah, it should be consistent. If you're going to post on one platform, post it on all platforms. That
I
it should
thought
be
that a
consistent.
good sorry, there might be also lag.
Sorry, go ahead, Al.
The one idea of like a consistent like because you guys have like a bunch of guests already lined up, so as far as I understand, and without it being too much, I feel like the Twitter could be used like in like a sort of as a sort of scheduling thing with like like well, Kyle used to do like reminders and stuff. Sometimes he was so inconsistent with it, but like this thing's gonna happen in like 2 weeks perhaps, and then like another reminder of the week of, and then like 2 days before, because then people can kind of keep the show in their mind, and like it'll get multiple shares, and I don't know. I think it would help with engagement and stuff like that. It's just a general thing. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and collect my thoughts to add any more. I've just been
Maybe, yeah.
listening.
Yeah, think about it as you're listening to others here. And maybe at the end, if you want to have a go again, you can do that. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, I'm being too formal, but I'm just trying to not
Yeah,
to like
there's like 20 people in here, so
yeah, I'm just trying to like make it as streamlined as possible.
I pretty much love everybody in this room. By the way, this feels really nice that everybody's
Yeah,
here.
it does. And you have to do that, Mon. Don't apologize. It's necessary.
Am I
There's
being
so many
sexually
people.
harassed?
Not yet.
Yeah, I was about to say not yet.
I
That's
haven't
at-
had my turn yet.
Let
That's
me
at the
know.
end of the meeting.
I
All
don't
right.
miss out.
Clitoris, vulva.
I-
I mean, oops.
Okay.
I did not realize I had Mr. Serious turned up so high, so when he said I haven't gone yet, it was just like blaringly loud,
know.
deep
Mate.
voice that was
Yep.
just like I was very commanding. I
I know.
applaud.
It stopped me cold. Like I understand.
It stopped me warm.
Well,
Aw.
I was. It takes me a
Ooh.
little longer. I was getting there, but it takes a little longer. Okay, anyway.
All right, cool.
Did you just call me easy?
Yes, you have
well-
made it abundantly clear that you might be easy.
All right, so this is the sexual harassment part. I thought it was going to be at the end. Like, isn't that in the TLDR? We were going to do it at the end, but okay. All right, back
All
on
right.
track. I'm muted.
Okay.
We're going back on
Thanks,
track.
Claire. All right, Mr. Sears, the floor is yours.
Oh, really? After that? Okay. All right. Now I see. I completely forgot what I was going to talk about. Crap. All right. I think that everything has improved since the beginning. A lot of the cobwebs, have gotten shaken out. I think that there's a few things that I think I've noticed. Having been part of a show kind of with similar structures, I guess. There are things that I noticed that I would prefer. And like when it comes to some of the episodes, you guys seem to get off on the weeds, like you and Shesh together, and like off on things that aren't even really part of the like that aren't really on the subject of what's happening, and sometimes like that can be fine, except for sometimes I'm seeing the guests, they're just kind of like I'm looking at them and I'm thinking that they're thinking like, why am I even here? Like, well, what is even happening? It's like sometimes it goes on for so long. It's like
You're talking about the Shroud of Turin episode with the stupid history science thing.
that one I probably could say is the largest example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's more examples than that.
Oh,
But-
sure. Yeah. I'm certainly not saying it's the only example. That's just the first one that comes to mind for me, at least.
Yeah. Definitely that one first comes to mind.
But yeah, the even if like I used to, whenever I was doing the shows and let's sit down with debunkers, I would have like lists of questions to ask the guests, just to have something to say. It's like if I ever ran out of stuff to say, I would just have something there to at least focus on. Like I wouldn't repeat it like verbatim, like I'm some kind of robot, but at least I would have some kind of thing in mind that I could just jump to if I ever ran out of something to say. But I'm Mr. Serious. I'm not going to run out of things to say. But I would still somehow incorporate the question into something, just so I wouldn't accidentally grab one of my co-hosts' hands and run off into the sunset with them and flip off my guest, and shortchange the audience that showed up. I never wanted to do that, so I always tried to aim everything at the guest. Not that every possible thing needs to be aimed at the guest, but they should be the star, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything else, Mr. Sears?
At the moment, I swear I may have had something else, but at the
Okay.
moment, that's all I can think about.
Okay. If you remember, just write it down, and when we kind of come to the miscellaneous of stuff, then maybe you can chip in if you wanna. I'm getting very formal now. What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay. Rez, your turn. Go for it, buddy.
Okay, so I don't really have much to say about this particular part of the conversation. What I want to get into is more what we're going to talk about later, especially some language that's really worried me. About this specifically, I wish there was less headbutting between co-hosts, because it detracts from the actual conversation. It's fine when you guys get into banter and stuff like that, but when you start going into a tangent, I guess, it can really detract from the overall conversation, and that was fairly evident, like with the is God a metaphysical necessity conversation.
Yeah, not to make too bad of a pun, there was a lot of non sequiturs in that discussion.
Exactly. So yeah, and people have echoed my other concerns about the non sequitur show in general. Yeah, I have more specific stuff to go into, but we'll get into that later, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Paul?
Yeah.
I go.
Yeah, RNGD, your turn.
Yeah, it's got better from what it was. I think so anyway. There is a bit of over talking, but I think that's just a lag on vCall. Maybe try a test run with Skype, using NDI instead of vCall, because I think it's just crap. The amount of lag you get on it. Just mirroring the. Yeah, just want to mirror what Nikki said. The caffeinated that seems to be get better. But yeah, practically everyone's voiced what I had a problem with. The problem with what Claire said about the promoting, if you do it too far out, you'll get the trials trying to contact them saying, "Oh, don't go on there because they did this, that, and the other."
That's been a concern.
Yes. Okay. Anything else, mate?
No, that's it. Not it really. I think I've only skipped one episode, and that was with that nutter on it.
Yeah, that's
Right.
well. That's why, like, some of the guests that I have on, like, I know if they reached out to John Steingart, he's not going to give a flying fuck, right? So certain guests I can get away with promoting a little bit longer out than other ones.
Okay. Shesh?
I mean, yeah, utilizing the Twitter more and interacting with it more would be great. I think it's a very, very bad idea to publicly blame guests for misgrouping them. So I think it's a very, very bad look for Non Sequitur to blame Jim and say, well, he told me he knew. Even if that's the case, publicly saying that on the Non Sequitur show is a terrible fucking idea, especially when he wasn't the only one that misunderstood what the topic of the conversation was supposed to be.
Yeah, a lot of the audience.
Really, really bad look.
Yeah, that's part of the PR thing. The face of NSS. You got to be really careful. It's gonna last.
I was asked also on the Discord. I mean, I was asked on the community tab by you, why'd I schedule Jim? And the answer was he told me that he knew about it. What was I
Yeah,
supposed to
the
answer?
sometimes the answer is you don't answer. Sometimes is the answer that, oh, I thought he would be like I whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is don't blame. I misscheduled. I did this wrong. I did that. You don't blame publicly the guest. Like that's just a really, really bad look.
It's gonna
Because it's
look
good.
bad for other
Even
guests
if it's
that
not
are
meant in
actually
a
gonna wanna
serious,
come on.
Even if you
yeah,
didn't
even if it's not
intend
meant
it.
in a serious
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, because even
If
if
you have COVID on, you can blame him. That's
Yeah.
the exception.
Well,
even,
I mean,
even if you and Jim are like the bestest of friends, the internet at large are not going to know that personal bit of information. So if it's like a layman, someone who doesn't know the show comes along and goes, "Oh yeah, my guest was shit. They told me they knew,
Yeah.
but they didn't really." That's
Right.
that just looks bad from an outside
But
perspective.
still,
would-
like, other
I would-
guests are gonna see that, and other future guests might see that, and they will be like, "Oh,
That's the
you know,
important
they
part.
might not know the
or-
relationship Steve and Jim have." So
Or if you want to double down on the I don't want to announce guests early because of trolls will take that comment and send it to other guests.
Yes, but here's the I'd like to address that troll thing. Like sooner or later, are we not going to have to make them completely irrelevant? I mean, you're going to
I think
actually not advertise
I
because
think
they're going
they
to be
are,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with
like
yeah, of course.
This
like,
should not
do-
be a non-factor.
right. You need to advertise earlier. Period. Trolls or no trolls. You got mods for the trolls. Sooner or later,
lot
they're
of
going to get bored.
trolls.
You know, I don't really.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think you should play into it. You're giving them what they want. That makes me feel a little.
Don't give them the power.
Jim did
That's right.
state, Jim in his own words stated he was not the person for that particular thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
Right,
but
there's no
that's a far
disagreement
cry
That's
from
fair
the
enough, but that is not.
That's fair. That's
the
fair.
guest coming
Okay.
to terms with the fact that
All right.
maybe somebody else should have handled that is a far cry from the host of the show like blaming the guest for that going badly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and again,
entirely different.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna bring it
Yeah.
back. Understand, Steve, that Jim accepted that himself. It's fine. He can accept that. That doesn't make you look in a negative light. But if you do it, that's so. It's all about
Well,
optics.
I told. See, the thing is, I did tell Jim I was going to help him out with the term. I was going to help him out, and he's like,
Oh, okay.
he didn't need it. He's like,
Okay.
and you could read. I mean, you can go ask him. He did. He was like, didn't need any of the help, and I'm like, okay, then I'm assuming you're telling me that you understand this stuff. He said, "quote I eat Swinburne arguments for breakfast." His words.
The answer
Right,
is
right.
that the problem is he did. If
And
you
that's
want to if you want to discuss this
He did
episode,
not. He did not. He
if-
did not address the argument
Steve,
at all.
please don't interrupt me. If you want to discuss this episode, we can do that, but I don't think that's the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
It's
want
like-
to. Yeah, I was just going to interject. That looks a little like Steve. Oh, like we don't
It's a
want you to
shifting-
take it personal. When we're saying, I think the point that was made is that we have to remember the Discord is public, and that everything you say in there about a guest and anything like that is going to
This was
get out to the public and everywhere else. But it's not. We're not saying you do anything intentional. It's not a personal thing. It just put the spotlight on where all that information is going to go and what it looks like for NSS in general if any of the hosts are talking about any of the guests in any kind of way. Like, you know what I mean? Even though
Yeah,
what you're
sure.
saying is absolutely
right,
true.
sure.
And I know
Sure.
where you're coming from, but it's not a personal thing. It's perception and PR. And that's a channel reality. We all have to, it sucks. And you can't be as open as you want. You can't be who you want all the time. That Discord is public. It's like taking out a fucking ad in the newspaper way back when.
Community tab.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't okay. My turn.
The second thing.
Okay, go on.
Okay.
My turn. Then she's
Go
interrupted.
on. Nah, I can wait.
The second thing was, do you have a process for vetting guests?
Yeah.
Can we be made aware of what the vetting process is?
I literally. How many of you have gone to the non sequitur document that I've formed for all the guests that goes over what we're going to discuss?
Okay.
Links for them.
Where is that?
So when
Okay. Hold on. Hands
Is that
up
on the
for people.
website? Is that on
Hands
the
up for
website?
people. Hands up for
I-
people who have no idea what that is.
I
I have
literally.
no idea.
I don't. Is it
gave
on the
you all the
website or
document.
is it in the Discord? Is it on the website or the Discord?
I
Where
will
is
give it
it?
to you. I will give it again.
Where did you
Okay.
put it the first time, Steve?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where was it?
I do not remember, so I can't.
Because
But I know I put it out.
I want to know how I missed that when I'm supposed to
I
be
do
helping
not
you with
know.
PR, and how the hell I don't know these? Like how?
Yeah.
How?
I
Yeah.
know I saw it, and you want to know where I got the idea that the conversation with Jim was about God? It was from that. So that's not my question. My question is about your vetting process for
In
guests.
general.
Oh,
That's a different question than
In general,
for
what
all
is
the guests,
what is
anyone-
set up with the
anyone
once
who
they
shows interest in
Well,
coming
like,
on.
once
with-
they
with-
are scheduled.
Well, like Jim
Yeah.
Jules, I went over her story. I looked for any contradictions. She
Mhm.
explained to me her story in detail. She was going to get one of the two girls that were with her at the time to try to join. They didn't want to, but I
Mhm.
sat there for quite some time and listened to her entire story, start from finish, and thought that should be really good to come on and tell that story. Then I reached out to Frank Parlato, who of course is a vetted journalist.
Mhm.
He was interested in the topic, and then I arranged for that to happen.
Did you ask him what parts he was going to address on the topic? Because I
I told him I told
Yeah.
him Jules was going to be telling her story, and I wanted
Mhm.
him to weigh in on it if he thought that was a potentiality for sex trafficking
Because
and
yeah.
how to prevent it.
Because
So I-
honestly, he has strong opinions about consent, the law, and
Of course.
authority, and
Yeah.
a lot of that wasn't pushed forward, which really could have been. And I saw him struggling to try to bring it up, but he's not the kind of guest that's going to do it on his own. You got to like pull it out like taffy from this
Like you
man.
did with Cindy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you guided
got it.
her.
Yeah, he
So-
needed a little more. He needed a little more push on his topic,
That-
if he wanted to. But,
yeah, that still is kind of like it's
Mm.
okay, you go case by case. All right,
Mhm.
understood. But still, is there a basic framework that you will follow? So
Mhm.
that's a question that can be answered. If I may now, if I may express my opinion, my opinion about what's been going
Well,
on.
hang on. We don't know if Chesh had a third thing.
Okay, Shesh, what did you have?
It's fine. You go ahead. It's fine.
Why does the tech support get another opinion?
Hey,
Oh.
ouch.
What? Bye.
Wait,
hey,
why
hey,
why don't
Paul,
we
Paul,
why don't
you're
we
a
get
tech
to
support person. How much do you
Yeah.
get paid an hour?
yeah, I don't know. Why don't we should have a group?
Okay.
Sorry,
Um,
Manya.
Nah, it's okay. Shesh, did you want to add anything? Sorry, I should have asked you. I'm
No,
trying to double.
it's fine. Most of the stuff that I find is a little bit less general and a little bit more like pre-show is lacking. I'm lacking information going into shows. I didn't know anything about Cindy Lincoln and what we were planning on talking about until like 5 minutes beforehand. So like and also things like, hey, I'm not coming on camera today. Okay.
Like
5
show
minutes
prep.
5 minutes beforehand. So what picture are you putting up for me? What? I didn't need. Okay, yes, that's a thing I'm doing now.
Okay, so that's a more of a technical
Yeah,
aspect.
But
yeah,
it
so-
needs
exactly.
prep. It needs time, and that's where I'm going to Shesh. I'm going to butt in. All these things are symptoms. Are symptoms of something that's not happening that should be happening. Pre-show prep. I don't know how much of pre-show prep are you two guys doing. You need to. I don't know, because you need to sit down and go through, have a basic framework of what you're going to talk about, or what skeleton you're going to follow if you're going to have one guest or if you're going to have a debate about on a specific topic.
Or
You
freeform.
both need to sit down and prep for it. It can't be done separately, and that's and
It's
think
also
and I
really
think so.
difficult if it's done 5 minutes before the show.
Yeah, no,
such as, like,
that's not fair on
for
both of you.
example, the nuke show, where it's just like, here's all the screenshots. Figure out what's happening with what order they're going in with Landon. Walks away, Landon. So what order are these going in? I have no idea, Landon.
I
Do
didn't
you
know.
know?
He didn't give me an order for them.
Yeah, so
That's-
that's
So
what I'm
that
saying.
was
That needs
very
to happen.
interesting.
That was his thing.
Well,
No,
that's not
He
what.
said, here's what I wanted, and I was like, okay, let me get him to Shesh.
Okay,
and get with her to determine when
Again.
we want to talk about them.
Okay, but
Okay,
that's
that's
not
what-
what Landon said either, because Landon was trying to talk to you while you were walked away, and I had to tell Landon that you had gone off.
I went to
go
the
do
bathroom.
something.
I
I'm
went to the
not
bathroom.
saying I'm not
Okay, I
saying
don't
you
want-
didn't go on
okay.
to do something legitimate. I'm just saying you weren't there and he didn't know and he
Alright.
was asking.
Okay, yeah, Shesh, and Steve. Clearly, this tells me you need more time to prep then, and with your guests also. Then, you need to and you need to sit down together. And if you need to get your guests in for a pre-show prep talk, something like that, do that. You need to do that. You need to start. What? Sorry.
It's not feasible with most guests, obviously. These
No,
are
okay,
people that
but
have very
makes sense.
specific times.
okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah.
But at least sit down and maybe let your guests know if they want to submit something, they can do it by this date or by this day. So it gives you both the time to go through it and set it up. That can be done, can't it be?
Mhm.
I'm sure that
Yeah.
can be done.
If,
Okay,
if
I-
I
yeah,
may,
And I
Manu,
wanted to CC Chesh on all the emails, but she doesn't check. She said she doesn't check her email account. Now I could give her the Proton
Okay,
mail
that's
things. but
Steve. That's completely unfair. First off,
Why?
for 3 reasons. 1, you didn't say that ahead of time that you were going to be sending emails for me to check. 2,
Yeah,
when
but-
you asked me if I checked your email, you had said, "Oh, I was building a non sequitur show one for you," which was something I was also aware of that didn't get done. And you
No,
said
I have.
that did.
I literally just finished it up like the
Okay,
other day.
so let me finish. Which means that you said you were going to give me a non sequitur show email so I could have access to whatever CC on everything. And I said, cool. That means I'll be able to check that specifically for that so it doesn't get gummed up in my regular one, which I no longer check very often because it has
Like
too
what
much
Kyle did?
spam in it. This,
Mhm.
I really think it's kind of misrepresenting the situation when you say, oh, I didn't bother CCing her.
You can't
I-
put a
I-
filter on it.
I'm sure I'll get to finish a sentence without getting interrupted.
Shut up, Chesh.
but
Okay.
for giving her an option, then she's going to expect that option to come in, right?
if I may step
Listen,
in here,
Yeah,
It-
that's not. It should only be NSS to NSS. Okay, so
If-
Steve,
if I-
stop. Chesh, stop. It should only be NSS. Don't do that, please. Let's not put
Rez,
up.
what did you want to say?
if I may step in here and say that these problems are symptoms of the greater issue is that there is not enough communication, particularly between the two co-hosts.
I
And
agree.
I agree.
that there needs to be priority communication between the two co-hosts. That means if there is an issue to be worked out, both of you drop everything you're doing to make sure that gets worked out. Both sides. That means if you get an email about anything related to the Non Sequitur show, that email takes priority over everything else until it's sorted. And also, Steve, you need to be more communicative about what is actually happening on the Non Sequitur show with Chesh well prior to the actual show itself. Well prior. Days, if not weeks.
I have them literally on that schedule. Each show has its own document that is open that you can go to and write anything people can want to write on it. Every show has its own document.
Steve,
Takes out.
documenting and sitting face to face and coordinating stuff is very important and needs to be done at least 24 hours before the show.
We have sat for an hour or two prior to shows and talked
Oh,
about what's going to be on the show and how to go do it.
I
don't
didn't
know
say
why you think
hour
that
or
we
two,
don't.
I said 24 hours.
Yeah.
Huge.
Days before, yes, a day
Then-
before, 2 days before, we have done this.
Maybe like. Sorry,
Perhaps,
Chesh, go ahead.
Then maybe the document needs to be more specific because I didn't know that there was a paper when it came to Dr. Sejwadi until you asked me if I had read a paper. I also thought that episode had to do with the God conversation that Jim ended up having. I had no idea what we were talking about with Cindy Lincoln until maybe a half an hour before that show, where I said that, okay, well, I'm going to take it in this direction then. So perhaps if you don't want to do more calls or more talks ahead of time, then maybe that documentation needs to be more specific, potentially?
That document right there that I put in the chat, moderated chat, has his paper on it. And I wanted to discuss his interview with Ron Robb, but I didn't even get to that. I literally
Yeah,
put his paper.
I don't think that's the issue here.
May I interject for one moment?
Go on, Claire.
A pattern that I'm seeing right now is a miscommunication. if I may, I don't want to speak for either of you. I'm just going to say what I just saw right now was Chess trying to address an issue about not knowing about a document. And instead of listening to the rest of what she said, Steve, you went and looked for that document, posted it as if that was the issue, that she didn't have it right now. That's not what she's saying. She's talking about show prep. Let us focus on show prep, on having those meetings so all this misery is before the show. After the show, it's just going to be tit for tat, back and forth. And yes, you're right. It's available. It's right there. We all see it. But I don't see the production of you throwing that out there like that in the middle of her comment. She's going to stop addressing it. You're not listening. Are we here? Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Okay, I'm not trying to
Also,
be insulting. I see this pattern all the time. There's closed ears here. Please. Okay, we're trying.
also, as Chesh just highlighted on the discussion bulletin, there is nothing about the paper itself.
Now,
Okay.
now you
Yeah,
see what
so-
you.
I did tell her that it was going to be off the paper.
Okay,
But if
but
it's not
I
on
did
the
tell- I did-
discussion
hang-
bulletin,
but I hang on. Even mentioned before that Jim read his paper. I said this. He read
Mhm.
his paper. Jim said he can refute the paper. I mentioned all this before. Did I
Okay,
not?
then let us
How
let
could it
us
not be off
address
paper?
that. Then let us address that and say there's definitely a miscommunication in how you're having your pre-show meetings. Can we
That's
say
fine.
that? Okay,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
what I see going back and forth right here is there's no right and wrong. This is about NSS. This isn't Steve's right. This isn't Chesh's right. This isn't Chesh's points bigger or Steve's got an answer for Chesh's point. This is figuring out the best look for NSS and how you two, as the host and putting forward NSS, is going to go best. Is that not why you have us all here?
No,
Yeah,
I
this-
agree with that 1,000%.
Because I don't want to get into this who's right and who's wrong
Yeah,
sheet.
no,
This
it's-
is not
it's-
productive at all.
What's
all.
most important is that you figure out a way to just land in the same place. Like you have your way, Chesh has her way.
Right.
You guys need to get on the same page.
You need to support each other. You need
Yeah,
to.
that's it.
You need to.
Yeah.
It needs to be a win-win for both of you.
Yeah, well, Mr. Seriously, I think you're exactly right, and that's another thing that we're going to get into. I have my own way, obviously, with the forums and all these things, and I contact the people and all that shit. Jess has her own way. I don't know how well that they're communicating. We don't seem to be communicating very well for this particular endeavor so far. We have some things that we don't have a meeting in the minds on, and we're going to address those things. That I've even told her before. I wasn't even sure I want to continue, even before I got Non Sequitur back, to even do Non Sequitur. I was going to put it into a hiatus status, and not. I didn't have the wherewithal to do the Non Sequitur show. We said, well, let's give it a shot, see how it goes for the first 2 episodes. It goes from there. But
Okay.
I was for having depression. I had to call the VA. I was not in the mindset to do Non Sequitur show. And I was just gonna, and I didn't want to. Okay.
Steve,
and
that is honest and clear, and that is very useful for this meeting, actually.
And there's more. And I did tell her, look, if I don't want to do the Non Sequitur show, I'll work out some agreement because I want to keep my obligations and I want everything to be fair. She could do the show with a co-host. I do I still do the scheduling, get like 10%, like Bull would have gotten had Kyle been honest, and she could do it with somebody else, and I would have been a part of it that way, and it would have been fine with that. So that was talked about. Her and I talk a lot more than people seem to think on this kind of stuff, and I made this very clear that we have to see how things kind of go because there have been huge communications issues. For example, I have obviously there's cost involved, right? I mean, last month there was $100 in operating cost. I don't know if you guys know this, but I spent $5,000 of my own money to get the Non Sequitur show back at the very end. I had to get a $5,000 retainer for Scott. Okay, that's operating cost. I thought that, like, for example, the residuals from the videos, from the 200 videos that I did prior to Cheshire coming on, which is it averaged about $120 a month, that should have been split between Kyle and I. This entire time was going to Kyle. Those would be going directly to me to pay for those operating costs. Those were strictly from ad revenue from the prior videos, pay off that $5,000 that I put at my own money, the Non Sequitur show back. I guess Chess thinks that the agreement that we made was 50% of all proceeds from the channel from the totality of the channel, not just from when she starts. Now
And
that's a meeting of the minds issue, and we can
Mhm.
discuss that obviously, because it never would have occurred to me why somebody would get paid for something after. I mean, before, if something happened before.
yeah,
they
that's a
came on.
retroactivity issue rather than a
Yeah.
perpetuity issue.
Right.
Yeah,
And even with the perpetuity issue, there needs to be some kind of meeting of the minds. If somebody does one episode and they quit, do they get perpetuity of the entire channel? Of course
Okay.
not, right?
Okay,
Wait.
go on, Riz.
Okay, I need to get this off my chest.
Sure.
Prior to the Non Sequitur show coming back, you and Chesh had already had a verbal agreement, no?
Yes.
About everything on the Non Sequitur channel.
Yeah, and
being
by the way, I hope
50-50.
somebody you record this. By the way, I'm not, but you guys can. By all means.
Just
I'm
can
recording.
I get that
also.
answer? Can I get that answer? There was a 50-50 partnership agreement.
There's a 50% agreement for proceeds resulting from the revenue from the channel coming on. Like I said, from her contributing to the channel. Yes.
Yeah, I would
Did
love
you-
to see a reference to that. All I know is that I was brought on as a 50-50 partner in totality.
I am not aware, and apparently neither is Chesh, of anything specific about when that 50-50 comes into it. I was always under the impression, and I'm
okay.
sure many other people were, that the 50-50 agreement was a 50-50 agreement is a 50-50 agreement.
All right,
That is regardless of anything else.
All right, so okay, so you think it's fair? You think it's fair that it's for anything prior that should be split as well?
Well, are
Yes.
you going to go back to Kyle and ask him if he wants?
I'm
Are you going to
asking
take?
you.
Are you going to take the money where Kyle and Katie were present in those episodes, or where you weren't present?
I'm asking you for your opinion.
I think it
So-
should be
And we
overall.
just gave it to
And
you.
it should be.
Okay.
We were under the impression it was 50-50. And
All right,
and
all right.
let me just say, if you want to cover the operating costs, like you said, come to an agreement with Shesh. How much of that will go into operating costs, right? If it's the AdSense revenue that will go into that, and what that is. But if you said 50-50 to Shesh and you didn't specify what time that starts from, then it's a 50-50. If you had made it specific, if you had made it specific from the start, but that maybe then, but did you specify it? And if not, then I was also under the impression that it was 50-50. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm asking you a specific question, though, Manya. Do you think somebody should be paid for prior videos, even though that revenue would have been coming in regardless? I'm asking specifically
I
that.
will put it this way: Shesh gave you 2 years of her life.
That's not my question. I
don't care. I'm
I
telling
will
you.
answer it. I will
Go
answer
on.
it.
Go on, Rez. Go
Without
for it.
Chesh, you could not fucking do this. So she's an essential half partner. Thus, without her, you wouldn't be getting shit.
Okay, so it's. I'm asking you if you think it's fair, then we'll go with that. I want to have your guys' opinion. That's right.
All right.
In one,
I spent
oh,
a
sorry,
fair bit
sorry.
of time thinking about this after having talked to both co-hosts. And so here's a few things. One, if it's a partnership, then it's a partnership. And here's the thing, 50-50 of profits is a good split. However, operating costs are a thing. And if you have a setup thing where you're like, hey, we have prior costs and current operating costs, and that's going to come out of this segment of the income, then there's not a change in the 50-50 split there, because you have decided that this bit of income is to go back into the channel. What comes after that is the profit, because you don't just, no one splits 50% of gross income, right?
Correct.
You split net income. So
Correct.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with you two having discussions about which money comes up for the channel itself and for things there. Another thing is, Steve, I honestly think you should set up a corporation for the channel if you're going to have a partnership with anyone, because that way you can actually have a defined thing that both of you are partners in. It just being a YouTube channel makes it more complicated, because that means that one of you is the primary owner instead of the corporation, which means one of you is getting the primary, you're getting like on the start tax liability. If you pay the other person, you have to try and write that off of your tax. It all gets more complicated if you don't have a corporation for the show. You should get one.
Or you just do it as payment thing. I mean, again,
I mean, it's
I
there are ways.
obviously have control of the show. I mean, that's not ever going to be something that changes. I clearly have primary control of the show.
Okay, so Chesh
but
is not your partner.
Well, I mean, I have primary control of the show. I mean, I mean, I'm not giving up 50% of
Okay.
that aspect of it. And then
So in that case, Chesh should be treated like. So should Chesh be your employee then?
I don't know. That's what we need to work out.
Well, because if she should be your employee, you shouldn't be giving a big share of. You shouldn't be sharing profit. You should be paying her an hourly or salary rate.
Then she gets
she would get paid more in the profit sharing, correct?
No,
It
that's not how it works.
Yeah,
Dapper, if I may comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
If she's your employee, then her salary comes from the operating costs. That's what it is.
She gets paid before you do,
regardless
if she's
of
an
if you
employee.
make a profit or not.
Dino. Yeah, that I understand that. Yes, Dino. But do you put that $5,000 under operating costs? Because I did.
Yeah, that's fine. You'll have to pay Stretch.
And what I said was the ad revenue. I even told her the ad revenue, especially from the prior ones, would be going in to cover operating costs, which is what I spent. And that's how I interpreted. This is what I told Chesh. So when she came back and said, "Well, all that money, no, I get half of that," I'm like, that goes into the operating cost of the $5,000 that she knows I put it into the channel.
Like I said,
there's no meeting of the minds there because I'm a little confused.
Okay. Like I said, if you have a partner, then partners get paid after operating costs.
Right.
Which means that until operating costs are covered, partners can't reasonably take a draw because you haven't actually paid the debts that the current partnership owes as a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
However, if you have an employee who does not have an ownership stake in this endeavor, who doesn't have any ultimate say in what happens to it, who can be fired based on another person's idea, who doesn't get owed a buyout, you need an employment contract. You need a salary or an hourly wage that comes out of your money before you pay yourself.
And you're 100% correct in everything you just said as far as business arrangements. Absolutely.
So if you want to make it so that Chesh doesn't own the Non Sequitur show at all, that's great. You need to come up with an employment contract, and you need to negotiate how much she's being paid per week or per hour or per whatever, as well as how much you owe her for back pay for her previous employment work with you.
What does she prefer?
Well, that's a good question for Chesh.
That's what we're here to discuss, right? Because clearly, since we're not having a meeting of the minds, and clearly there are some issues there, I want to be able to have the option to walk away at any time. Because if I shut down the channel and just walk away and be done, because either I can't do it, I don't want it, whatever, I want to work out some agreement with her where she gets some residuals for a certain amount of time. She works a month, she gets a month with the residuals. She works a year, she gets a year with the residuals. I think that's more than fair.
Well, that's
for her.
That might be fair for an employment contract. If you wanted her as a partner, then the way you walk away is it's called buyout.
What does she prefer?
Well, that's up to her, obviously.
Let's ask.
Chesh, we need you.
Is
Yeah,
that
Chesh, where the fuck are you?
to ask in front of everybody? Out of
Yeah,
curiosity?
Yes.
Okay.
I put what I
Don't
prefer.
mind. I think that maybe Steve probably should have asked me about a lot of this ahead of time, because I don't actually disagree with almost all of the profit shit he talked about. As far as I understood, the agreement was we were 50-50 partners, and that we had agreed that all of the AdSense, including what was happening when we had restarted, so including the episodes that I was a part of and that I was on, was going to go back into the channel. Now, what he did not tell me was that he considered the $5,000 part of it. Now, had he said that to me at some point, or even if he had just done it, I probably would have been totally fine with that and had absolutely no issue with him recouping that $5,000.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you just now finding out about that $5,000?
No, I knew that the $5,000 existed. I had absolutely no idea he wanted to consider that part of quote-unquote operating costs.
Why would I
not?
Right, okay.
No, that's not
that-
Steve. It's about communicating. Again,
Not that I
that's
would
what
have
about it.
had a problem with it in the first place.
And I probably believe that. Again,
Probably?
yeah, okay, I believe that. The
Okay.
thing is, but again, this
Wow.
this goes to miscommunication, right? I have a business sense. I know Dapper, everything he's been saying about business is correct. We maybe, and I'll fully take the hit for it. Maybe in my mind, I assume other people as well do have that same kind of understandings. Maybe that's my thing as well. But when I told her that the ad revenue from things like that would go back into operating costs, this is all that I'm taking account of. I literally have all my
the
receipts.
question you asked me was, we were doing math, right?
Mhm.
We were doing the math, trying to figure out what was what with the mathematics, and trying to figure out. Both of us were fucking around in the AdSense area of YouTube. I was just doing math, and you brought something up about the AdSense, and I asked a question about YouTube Prime views, because YouTube Prime views give you a different amount of money. And I was like, are we counting that as AdSense, or are we counting that towards either of us? You asked me, wait, do you want to get paid for episodes you weren't a part of? And I said, I want to be a 50-50 partner like we agreed. That means, because then you came back to me saying, well, I thought the AdSense was going back into the channel, which is a...
No,
Yeah.
I don't think you mean that. The
Would
AdSense
you
is
like me to pull up the conversation? Because I can do that.
I'm talking. AdSense is comprised of a lot of things, and this is what I had to explain.
I'm just trying to explain the conversation as I understood it.
Okay.
So from what I understood, the 130-esque whatever dollars was to go back into the channel. I never questioned you using it on that $5,000 because you never brought it up. I never said, no, you can't spend that on recouping your costs. I've never said that, oh no, that's not a channel expense. And I've never said, oh no, you need to give me 50% of all of the AdSense. Because you run into a lot of problems when you start saying, well, Chesh, you weren't on these episodes. And I say, okay, well, you weren't on some of these episodes. Or I say, oh, okay, but people are only watching the show now because it's back and running and I am here. So you cannot divvy up amounts based on that, which is why I thought it worked out really, really well that you got the $130 put towards recouping channel costs or whatever the running costs of the channel are, such as having a website, such as having yada yada yada, I need this item. One of them, if I recall, happened to be legal costs that I had mentioned, and I can't think of a better term for you having to spend $5,000 to get the channel back, despite that being beforehand, then that being a legal cost that would be included in that 130 yada 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 dollars up until, if I recall correctly, what our conversation was up until it starts making some kind of an exorbitant amount of money, in which case then we can pick and choose. Presumably that would be well after you've gotten your $5,000 back, if that's what your concern is.
Okay, so I'm a little confused how you use some of the terms there. You said put the AdSense back into things. AdSense this is what I tried to explain, and I don't think you were, again, meeting of the minds. AdSense is comprised of many different things. AdSense is comprised of super chats. AdSense is comprised of revenue. AdSense is.
I mean, it's not in the layout of YouTube.
Hold on, let Steve finish, please.
This is what you weren't understanding, Chester. I'm sorry. I'm just going to just straight out. You weren't understanding how any of this operates and this works when it comes to the AdSense. AdSense is comprised. That's the totality of the super chats, the ad revenue, the Red Prime, YouTube Prime, Red, whatever it's called, Red. That's comprised of and the watch. Okay, so every time somebody watches, it's comprised of all those things. That's the totality that one gets after the 30% is taken out for everything else. The things you were looking at, you weren't even factoring in that. I had explained to you that YouTube takes 30% off the top of that. So what I was saying was the ad revenue from the videos before generating $120 a month for the last 2 years. That would be consistent regardless of the continuation of the channel or not, right? And I said the ad revenue, and I told you this explicitly, I wanted the ad revenue to go back into the operating costs and to pay for the expenses, including the as you mentioned, and I have it annotated right here, the NSS domain, $38.34. The email, which is $23.88. I have it all broken down. I have the receipts for all this stuff. And of course,
but did you mention the legal cost? That's the thing.
Yes, I absolutely most certainly did. She knew about. Did you guys know about the legal cost?
No,
I did not until I was informed very recently.
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot more going, obviously, that going on.
Okay,
you
maybe
know,
I
so-
can help because I think I know where the miscommunication is.
Before
Right?
you go, Dapper, I think so Al had a point to make. Al, can you
Oh,
please?
sorry.
Yeah, it's just like a sort of a moral thing and sort of a business thing. I can understand from both Steve and Chesh's perspectives of how their verbal agreement went through, that Steve kind of, with the prior episodes feeling the way he does feel and what he said, that, Kyle stole revenue from those, obviously, but at the cutoff point when you guys formed that partnership, I think it does make most sense business wise that all of the money prior to that would be Steve's, because Kyle obviously was stealing it, and whatever that was prior would be Steve's. But at the point that you guys made that agreement, then even all of the prior stuff plus the new videos going forward, all of that revenue would all be in the one pot, but under the new agreement.
But I would make a point there that whatever
Because
Kyle stole,
because
he owes it
essentially Chesh is in Kyle's position now, where
Well,
you know,
no,
where
that's
both of them would be getting that
I would
prior
say that
AdSense on all of those
that's
videos.
a bit confusing because Shesh is not in Kyle's position now. Shesh is a new partner, and if she's
That's not what he meant.
Well, you know
That's
what I
not-
mean.
that's not what he meant. Yeah, I
hold
know
the
what
on,
he
position of
hold
sharing
on.
at revenue on those previous
Right.
videos.
Right.
The
I know
thing
what
is
you mean
that
by it.
if Kyle stole from Steve, he owes that to Steve, and he's going to pay back.
Yeah,
to Steve.
and Steve's going to get that money from
That's
Kyle,
not what he's-
hopefully.
Yeah, that's not what he's saying. I know exactly what he's saying, and it's fine. The point being is that, like, for example, I was a little confused. In December, we had one show. Right, the ad revenue for that show was about, let's just say it was $5. It was $4.50. Whatever. And obviously the super chats, and the red revenue, right? But then there was $120 carryover from the month before, right? Because it'd been averaging $120. I don't, and she was like, well, what about for the month of December? That the entire assets be split. I'm like, yeah, but the carrying over from November that before you were on the show, and that's when she was like, well, it's 50-50 of all revenue. Yeah, from when you start from the shows that you do. I was a little confused about shows prior to that. And again, fully take the hit. We didn't discuss that. I absolutely agree.
And
But
I was saying
asked-
when Cheshire started doing shows, then that additional income from the priors, I would think, would start to be split after recouping those previous costs of the business.
and that could be discussed. Or what I suggested was, since it's been a continuation of $120 on average for the last 2 years.
I want you both to be happy is my point.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to be as fair as possible. What do you think I brought all you guys in for? I'm legit trying to be as fair as possible. You hope you guys realize that, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah, but can I just finish this one point?
Yeah, go for it.
So the $120 a month, that I was suggested anything above that, because if the channels got bigger, right, then those people would watch those older videos, right? That would make sense. So any ad revenue above $120 would be, it'd be very difficult to stipulate whether it came from the new videos or the old videos. I think that anybody agree it'd be very difficult to do that. So I said, look, $120 would just come off the top. That'll go back into what I'm paying, my operating cost, and then anything after that because we can split. I mean, we can differentiate between the AdSense revenue, the super chats from the watch, from the clicks, from the views, from the ad revenue. Those you can differentiate between the two. Anything over $100, that would be split 50-50, regardless of the source where it came from. I thought that was a reasonable.
Oh, that's
solution.
well, I was saying that I would say that from the point that she started being the partner and working with you, that $100 would be split, but the prior money wouldn't be all yours, is what I was thinking.
What prior money?
Okay,
yeah.
hold on, guys, everyone, hold up,
Dapper.
because there's a complete fundamental misunderstanding about what we're talking about, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Steve,
Okay.
If you go to your channel analytics page, click on revenue, click on the month of January, you're going to see under revenue sources, transaction revenue, ads, and premium. What Chesh is saying is that she wants the transaction revenue split.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure about the premium revenue, but she wants the ad revenue, whether you're saying it AdSense, which is technically incorrect, as all of that comes in under your ads account. I know.
Yeah,
but that's the ad revenue. Let me finish. Let me finish. She wants the she can correct me if I'm wrong. This is my understanding. That section under ad revenue, that goes back into the channel, which includes, at least it seems like she's okay with including the $5,000 court cost for you to recoup that. And then as far as premium, I think she's okay with that also going into channel costs, but I'm less confident about. So it's not that there's a big confusion about exactly what comes into your account from AdSense. We all know it's an accumulation of all that.
Can I get a clarification on what the premium is specifically?
Yeah, that's what people.
So premium is. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's what people have a subscription.
Watch YouTube Premium.
Yeah, so every time someone with YouTube Premium watches your video,
Wait, there's
he gets some money from YouTube.
people talking. Can I just get a clarification on what
I'll do
YouTube
it.
Premium means?
YouTube Premium is a subscription base where people have subscribed to YouTube, so they don't watch the ad. So the people that
YouTube
have,
Red.
YouTube Red, exactly.
I have YouTube Red.
Yes.
Right, gotcha. Now,
so whenever you watch a video, the creator gets money.
I wanted to say specifically.
And that should be split 50-50.
There is something I want to say specifically, and that is when I or anybody else, and please anybody else, feel free to correct me if I'm speaking for you and you don't like that. When I or anyone else pays membership or a super chat, where do you think we expect that money goes?
That all should be 50. That all should be 50-50. The super chats, the Patreon, the Teespring, all that split 50-50. That's
so
never going to enter.
Here's my other question. Yeah. Why are you including that in AdSense?
That is AdSense.
No, from a partnership point of view, I don't care about the business part of it. From a partnership point of view, why are you including that in AdSense if the people who are giving that money expect that to be split 50-50 between the partners after the 30%?
That's getting back to the problem that the word AdSense has been used in a technically incorrect manner here. When it was previously used, it was being used to mean the revenue that came in directly from ads playing on YouTube. That is technically an incorrect use. Yeah. Steve has been using the technically correct use. But yes, I think at this point, we can all agree that...
Let me get my point across. Yeah. I don't give a shit what the business aspect of the word usage of AdSense is when I expect that after YouTube's 30% cut, if I do a super chat, that to get split 50-50 between the two partners I'm supporting. I don't give a fuck about the technical term. That's what I want to happen. If that's not happening, I will immediately withdraw all of my support from the Non Sequitur channel.
That's always been the case. There's never been anything.
What the fuck are we even talking about?
Nobody's even questioned that. Nobody's been talking about that. That's all. Nobody's talking about the super chats or the premium. Those are all 50-50. This has nothing to do with any of that.
The thing is that the pedantic way that this conversation has gone has been that when I say AdSense, you take that to mean literally everything. When what As Dapper had, which means when you start to question about whether or not I get 50% of everything, Rez is saying that sounds like you're saying I'm not getting 50% of the money that he's putting in. You see? Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah, Rez. No, that's not anything.
That was where I was concerned, and that is my only concern as a supporter of the channel. I could not give a fuck about anything else.
Yeah, let me tell you right here now. Any money that's donated from an individual is absolutely 50-50 and always has been and always would be.
And does that include membership as well?
Absolutely. That's part of ads.
Okay,
that's included in
that's all I wanted to know.
Yes. We're not. What we're talking about is the ad revenue from people watching older videos that she had nothing to do with.
Then why are you being pedantic about it?
This is not pedantic. I didn't even realize that somebody else uses the word differently. I'm sorry. This is when I'm talking about AdSense, I'm talking about the way
I specifically stated I don't care about the business aspect of the way the word was used, because the way the word was being used was to include things like my super chats and memberships, which is where I had the conflict there.
Yeah, no words there. So what we're talking about though, the 200 videos that was getting watched, okay? The revenue from those watches would be there regardless of what happens to the channel. Would you agree?
No, because it's been going down since since Kyle took the channel. So it's gone from 200 to 150 to 300. So it is slowly exponentially going down.
it's average. It's been pretty constant. But listen, that's fine too. But
The
but
We'll
point
throw
is
all the
that
numbers into
when
a
they're
statistics program later, guys.
all right,
the point
yeah.
is that it is if you were to do nothing on the channel, it would slowly peter out into basically nothing after enough time.
or
Yeah.
or maybe not. I mean, those videos are still watched. But listen, whatever it is, whatever that number is, it's again, I'm asking for your input. I value you guys' input. This is why I called you guys together. If there's 200 videos prior and those are getting watched, and the rate's the same, they're not getting watched anymore. They're not getting watched any less. They're just the same. Whatever it is, let's say each video maintains a constant 50 cents a month, or it's not even that high, but let's say $1 a month, which is again way high. So that's $200 for 200 videos. If you just simple math, right? That revenue from those people watching those videos, that ad revenue, not AdSense, the way he's trying to use it, it's still a part of our AdSense, but ad revenue, that was supposed to be going back to the operating costs and expenses that I've had, and that's what I told her. I wanted the ad revenue go back into those costs to recoup my $5,000 and the expenses that have occurred with having the domain and all this other stuff. That's what she agreed to.
Yes, that is what she's agreeing to now.
Yeah.
That's what she's not agreeing to.
Can you please repeat to me what I said when I clarified my position earlier tonight?
You said that it could, you said the AdSense could go into the operating costs, and again,
Okay, but now she wasn't using that term the same way.
So what would you like?
I'm asking you. Okay, what I would like is for you to please repeat to me what I said that was my understanding of the situation tonight, with the understanding of the difference in terminology that we were using.
I'm unclear what what it is. I'm unclear. So would you like to repeat it again so we have annotated exactly what it is?
Steve.
No, I'm being serious here. I don't know what she's referring to. We have a different terminology, and that is confusing. Dapper recognizes it. I recognize it. I don't know what is she referring to. The money from the original videos. She told me she wanted that
after the 5,000.
No, that's not what she told me. Not at all. In
Yeah.
December, there was $5 worth of ad revenue. $5. She wanted the entire 100 and half of the $120 plus through the ad revenue, which was surprising. Again, I'm negotiating here. I'm not saying one way or another. These are negotiations. Okay. I'm just confused of why someone would think that they would get half of ad revenue for 200 videos that they were not a part of.
You're asking two different questions.
Well, that's fine.
I'm fine to answer both, but you're asking two different questions. Do you acknowledge that you're asking two different questions? Yeah?
No, but that's okay.
Okay, so I will explain to you why these are two different questions. One is the question about how I understand things were to be split. And the other is about whether or not I ought to be paid for videos I quote unquote were not a part of. These are two separate questions.
Prior to you coming on, anything afterwards, we
Sure.
discussed.
Yes, the
Yeah,
200, the quote unquote 200 episodes.
Yes. We
right?
discussed if I do an episode with a different person and you do an episode with a different person, that's still 50-50. We're not going to worry about that. Because the person coming on is not going to get anything. Right.
Correct.
Okay. Right.
Yes. Okay. So, assuming the show hasn't started, there are 200 episodes. I am now a 50-50 partner of the show, which means 50% of all revenue is shared because I am buying in, or I am part of. There is a deal that has been made that is 50%. Now, after that deal has been made, there was an agreement where we said that all of the income from ads, the residual money that was coming in from these 200 episodes, was reasonable to go back into the show for operating costs.
You're
which
buying
can
in.
include $5,000.
Which you're buying in, because if you're buying in, then I should get $2,500.
Steve, I spent 2 years working on this. I don't know what you would call that other than buying in.
That was never anything talked about. Never anything talked about whatsoever. We didn't do anything on the Non Sequitur show. You did it on your own channel, which you had proceeds coming in.
I'm sorry, but time is an investment.
Absolutely.
Time is
Yeah.
an investment.
And
And okay, what about what about
I don't mean by
Before we go down this road, let's
what about
call it
managing?
before we go down this road, let's call it a flub on my part. I have invested in the show instead of bought in. I've invested into the show. I also, if the agreement was 50-50, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but when Sony and Disney buys in, or Disney invests in Sony, or Disney owns a portion of Sony by whatever means, then they get residuals off of Sony's proceeds, such as Disney buys Star Wars, but they don't make any money and it all goes to Lucasfilms off of anything that's related to the original three?
Do you agree we both put in time?
That is not what's in question here.
Well, it is, because
What's the value? Hold on, Steve.
Well,
So,
can I finish?
are you saying? Okay, go on.
Because it's important. I am taking all the risk, and she has none of it. And
so?
she never offered to say, look, let me cover the cost with you for expenses. In which case, it would have been a lot more equal in sharing those responsibilities. She never once even offered. She knew about the $5,000. So this is again.
Steve,
I want to be as fair. I want to be as fair. I want to be as fair as possible. But you cannot say you bought. You cannot say you bought into something when you didn't.
Yeah, I already corrected that. But if you're not keen on the terminology and you want to say that I have not done that, I think we have a different problem on our hands at this point.
Yeah.
Well, terminology.
I want to
terminology
say something. I want to say something. Shesh, Steve, hold on. Steve, if you think Shesh and okay, you both invested time. Got it. Right? Okay. So if you're getting 50% of your time invested, why isn't she getting the 50% of your time invested? Why do you get the whole thing? Okay, you said,
I don't know what everything means.
okay, hold on. Not only she was helping you produce shows in these 2 years, she was doing the art, and she was managing the community. She was managing the trolls. She was managing a lot of shit.
And did she not get paid? Did she not get paid for all that from her own channel?
What?
She did all that on her own channel.
No, what did you pay her for that? No, what did you pay her for that? Let's hear that.
Wait, I was supposed to pay her for that, because this is news to me.
She didn't do any of that for herself, Steve.
Was she doing it for herself, or was she doing it for you and the NSS?
And for her and for herself too.
Okay, look.
Both put a lot of time. That's kind of
No. Hold on.
This is a little bit bizarre.
Yeah,
Emotions
both put a lot of
going
time.
high. There's a whole lot of emotions going high, and ultimately it comes down to a few questions which still haven't been answered, which need to be. Steve.
Yes.
What percentage of Non Sequitur show do you own? Is it 100%, or is it 50%, or is it something else?
Legally?
What, going forward from here on out, how much of it would you like to be the actual legal owner of?
Okay, you're asking me what I would like, because I don't think there's been a meeting of the minds.
No. The question is, how much do you own?
Currently,
I own 100. Yeah.
Okay.
I own 100% of the channel itself.
Do you want a partner, or
I'm
want
willing
an
to take
employee?
on a partner. I'm good either way. I don't. Again, there's been no meeting of the minds because of the terminology we use has been quite. Let me finish.
There's very important reasons I'm asking these questions, and I need very clear answers. And I'm going to get to all these concerns.
I don't know if I have a preference.
Okay, because there's a couple options here, right? You can make Chesh a partner, and maybe that comes with some kind of buy-in, and maybe that can be in terms of, like, you know, how residual ad revenue gets distributed for quite a while or something like that. But then she owns part of the channel.
We could talk about that. Yeah, we could talk about that. Again, I'm up for negotiations.
But here's
again,
the thing, though.
terminology is
Steve, please let me finish. That means certain things. That means there isn't a question about things like in perpetuity. Unless you buy her out, she gets in perpetuity shares because she owns that money.
Or we work on an agreement that you get paid in perpetuity for as long as you stay, which has been suggested to me by other people.
Here, you get the channel. That's her money.
Then we go a different route. Whatever. Again, whatever.
See,
whatever the input is.
I want to finish because there's really only two options here, right? There's Chesh owns part of the show, and therefore it's not a question of payment. It's a question of it's her money in the first place, right? And that also means that if she decides to walk away from the show and you don't buy her out, she keeps that half or whatever percentage.
Or I can
because
walk
it's
away and
her
she buys,
money.
or why walk away and she
Right.
buys me out. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
again,
But let me finish.
again, I'm up for those.
Okay, but the other option is
She knows. Yeah.
she's an employee. You two negotiate a wage. You follow the labor laws in the U.S., Canada. You pay her money as a paycheck. That money can have some profit sharing. It probably shouldn't be 50-50 because she should probably be getting paid an hourly or an hourly rate or a monthly salary that does not depend in any way on how the channel goes.
Right,
If her
agreed.
monthly salary is like $3,000 US and the channel makes $10, you owe her $3,000 regardless if she's your employee. And then she doesn't own the channel. There is no in perpetuity. But also, Chesh has been laboring for about 2 years in varying amounts under the impression that there was a partnership, which means if you take her on as an employee, it's pretty reasonable for her to expect back pay. Because remember that time you included Quantum Marriott in your lawsuit in case? The idea that since you were falsely laboring under the idea it was a partnership, you should be back paid anyway?
What was your back? What was the back pay? I mean, she was doing this all for herself as well. We both put
right,
time
because she was under the impression it was a partnership.
And I also told
And
her
to say that she's not hold on.
Maybe because she was doing it for herself as she was 50% partner
Right.
of the NSS. So she felt it was her responsibility to contribute for it. Maybe.
Because she was under the impression she had an ownership stake. People do free money for themselves for their own property all the time. What they don't do is free money for their maybe future, or free labor for their maybe future boss. That is a reasonable thing to expect.
What does she prefer? Again, I don't know. I haven't gotten any input from her. We didn't have a meeting of the minds.
Okay, but do you understand
clear?
why is it all of these other questions that we're coming up with what do we do with the AdSense? What do we do with all of this stuff is after this question. Are you okay first? Because some of the things you've told me indicate that you're just not okay with a partnership.
Well, because I want to be able to walk away at any time.
Well, you can with a partnership because there's a thing called a buyout.
If that's included in that, we haven't discussed anything like a buyout, have we?
That is the problem. Okay,
That's
right there.
Thank you. I agree.
No, sorry, Steve. That right there is the problem and the bullseye that we are speaking of right now. There has not been a discussion. And that is something you and Chesh need to talk about in private, not about, because this whole conversation, this whole meeting was about the moderation, was about the status of the Non Sequitur channel as it is right now. If you guys want to have a discussion about the more business aspects or the financial aspects, please go ahead and do that. But I don't feel like this is the best time or place to do it.
See, Jack, I would only partially agree with you. This is a problem.
Okay.
But the main problem is that they've already reached an agreement. Now Steve is saying he wants to change the original agreement.
No.
Yes.
No.
I
disagree.
There is no discussion on this point. Shut the fuck up for a second. The original agreement was a 50-50 partnership. Done. Deal. That's all. Now you're saying you want to change everything.
That's not what I said.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
but
it is.
Rez,
Sorry. No. Shut the fuck up.
No,
bring it down a bit.
Shut
Bring it down
the fuck up for a second.
Bring it down.
That was the agreement. Everybody was clear on that. Now you want to change the terms. If that's the case, that's fine, and we can go ahead with a new agreement. But don't try and pretend like there wasn't originally an agreement you came to and agreed to, and now you want to change it, which is okay. But all parties have to come together on this.
Can I caveat that, Rez? For partnership to be established like that, as she put in, there would have been a talk about some kind of buy-in, which didn't seem to be the case, right?
I've already explained that I misspoke on the terminology, Steve.
I get this, but this is, I think, highly critical. I was under the impression, Rez, okay, you just said earlier that all the money going in from people, that should be 50-50. That was my agreement with her, and that's absolutely the case, Rez. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the ad revenue from prior videos that I said I wanted to go back to recoup my expenses and recovery costs that she agreed with. Now that was when she changed that and said, no, I want half of that as well. So I didn't change that. She did, Rez. And let me finish. Because when I said When I said I want that ad revenue to go in to cover the offering costs, I was very explicit upon that. And then she said, no, for December, I get half of that as well. I'm like, well, no, that covers my expenses, which was that $5,000, which you didn't know about.
That's not what I said. And I have explicitly said, again, I will repeat myself for the third time, I have zero problem with that ad money going back into recovering costs. I've never said I had any issue with that. What I questioned in December was when you told me that the ad revenue was bringing in $5, and I said the YouTube thing is telling me it's 120. So you are giving me different numbers. Now,
Right.
I
right.
never said, when you asked me, you said, oh, wait, you want to get paid for episodes you weren't part of? And if you remember what I had said, I want 50-50 as we agreed. And you said, wait, I thought we discussed this and that the ads were going to go back into the channel. And I said, yes.
So why did you want 100? Why did you want 50% of the 120? Is the question? Then?
I never said
That's
I
not
wanted.
the fucking issue, for fuck's sake.
Rez,
Stop pretending like you don't understand the fucking problem.
Rez,
I
give me a segment. Give me a
I
segment
do
here.
understand. Trust me.
Steve, hold on. What Shesh was doing, she was just repeating the agreement to you, Steve. She didn't say she wanted 50-50 of the 120.
She did.
No.
She did tell me this.
I'm
telling you right now.
Okay, Shesh, repeat what you said.
I have
Shesh,
the breakdown right here of the spreadsheet.
I understood it. Rez understood it. I'm sure everybody here understood it, that she said she wants to be paid 50-50 as was agreed. She didn't mention the 120. You brought it up. She just repeated the agreement. That's all she did.
Then when you said, let me clarify the second half, because that's the first half. I want 50% partnership of the channel, which was what I'm not even saying that's what I want now. I'm just saying what I was saying at the time. What I had agreed to was a 50-50 partnership. Now, when you had said the ads say it was only like $5 and you asked me to double check, I said it's telling me this additional money. You said, oh, you want to get paid for episodes you weren't part of, ? I said, I want the 50% of everything that we agreed to. And you said, wait, I thought that this amount was going back into the channel. And I said, yes.
So there was an agreement there, Shesh. She was going along with you. But she said, yeah, okay.
Okay, all right, Manya, so Manya, I'm a little confused here. So make sure that you make sure that we're on the same page here, okay?
I don't see how.
Yeah, well, we're not.
I don't believe you.
We're not on the same page. That's what my point was. What I'm going to say here.
So
I said to make sure that we are, which I don't think we are.
What she's done there, she has reminded you that in the end, she would want the 50-50 as it was agreed to, including what she agreed to would be the cost. What would go into cost? That's what she that's what she meant, and that's what she said.
But the numbers she gave me included totality, not minus the operating
so she's
costs.
asking you for about what? Okay, where's that money coming from? That's what she was trying to ask you about.
Manya, listen to me, okay? It's important. She was asking for the half of the total amount of what was when I say AdSense, it's the totality.
What was agreed to? What did you agree to?
This is why I said there's a problem with two different questions being asked. There's a difference between asking the question, do you want to get paid for episodes you weren't part of, and me saying, I want 50-50 as we agreed on, and then you saying, but isn't this money supposed to go here? And me saying, I agree. Yes, this money should also be going here. These are two different questions.
The number you asked for, right? The number you thought you were supposed to get included all revenue from the prior videos.
Yeah, because that was the number you asked me to look at. You said, listen, Steve, you asked me to verify the number. I looked at the revenue. You told me the number was $5. I looked at the revenue. It told me 130, and I said, this is what it's telling me.
Right. So you're saying to me that you're okay with the ad revenue from those prior videos going in to not being part of the profit sharing. That goes in $120 a month, whatever it is. That goes to me solely to pay off my expenses. Is that what you're saying is okay with? 'Cause that's not
Until that,
With that,
Just-
and
just pay it
then
off.
whatever operating costs. Okay,
I
well, go on. Sorry.
I certainly was at the time. I
Okay.
might have an issue with it now.
That's not what you expressed to me, but we'll go with that. Okay.
I'm really getting tired of repeating myself
Finally.
exactly what I had said and then being told that's not what I said.
Okay,
Can
couple
I-
things.
can
First,
I bring this-
real quick,
wait, can
because I
I-
actually have to get going, and I want to make a quick point
Okay.
before I actually have to get going. Okay, first, everyone, stop telling people that they didn't say what they're saying they said, except that maybe you misunderstood what they said, and then go with that, because you know what? It's going to end up being a lot less combative. So, for instance, Steve, don't say, that's not what you told me, Chesh. Say, that's not how I took it, or that's not what I understood. Because
how I
there's
understood.
way too many there's way too much anger about something that ultimately is a business decision.
Right.
Second, I feel like we've gone well past productivity. I think there needs to be a smaller at some point with a few people who have some reasonable amount of objectivity, a reasonable understanding of how businesses can be run in these circumstances.
I agree.
And also, I think in those cases, during that thing, there needs to be a whole lot of almost not Steve and Chesh talking directly to each other, because right now there's high emotions on both sides there, and you're talking past each other, and it's not helpful.
Yeah, no,
I
definitely,
gotta
you're
get going.
exactly right. But let me,
So-
before you leave, let me just put this. I was like, I want to pay you out for this. This is what I came up with. When I said look it over, she came up with a much higher number that didn't factor in any of those operating cost expenses over my 5,000.
Right, and see, if you want me into a smaller room where you actually go over and hammer out the details of things like a contract and a business structure,
yeah, I'm fine with that.
I will be happy to take my assessment of that. Right now, because I'm not equipped to actually ask both of you, have both of you answer, take a look at numbers and things like that, because quite frankly, everyone's too heated. It's not useful for me to give input right now.
To clarify, I never said I didn't remove any of that number. I was just asking what the numbers I was told to look at were saying. That's all I did.
As a result of this becoming no longer productive, in my opinion, and the fact that there is other stuff that I have to do, I was not originally planning on this being like a 2.5-hour meeting. I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, if you want to contact me for a smaller room in which we have some actual business discussions just about numbers, who's doing what, whether there's an ownership thing, all that stuff, I'll be happy to come on later when it's calmer and a little bit smaller. Also, I'm going to say this is directed at both hosts. You should have had this figured out in writing a long time ago.
Here.
Yeah, I think I said that already.
It's a shame I thought I did.
Okay, but
I thought I did too. So
I know, but hear him. He's making good business sense. Coming from the business industry, I can just say I agree with everything.
I mean, that'd be great, but I haven't disagreed with anything, so I don't understand where the problem is coming from.
I understand. But it's like you two are speaking from my outside perspective. I'm neither of you. You're both speaking a different language, and I hear
didn't
you
realize
both.
the word yes was a different language.
Chesh, come on.
We're trying to help here. I understand where you're coming from, girl, but stop. Okay? You too, Steve. Both of you. You're speaking two different languages. You're going to need a mediator to get through this, and it's no failure. Happens every time when these things get misunderstood. It's if you want this channel to go forward, and my only suggestion from listening to this whole thing, and it was pretty quiet, I had to mute because there was plenty I wanted to say, is that first decide, before we get into these very, very complicated discussions, whether you guys need a break, which from what I'm hearing, there is some mental distress and not wanting to put 100% into it forward. You need that break first. Then you can decide if it's something you're going to do together and go forward, because it's going to be long and it's going to be hard and it's going to be taking all of your patience. And right now, neither of you have any, in my opinion.
You're right. No, I couldn't agree with you more on that. Again, I want Claire, I want what's fair. I really do.
Hear you. And you know what? There's no right and wrong, Steve.
I agree with you as that. I'm not saying Cheshire's done anything wrong, okay, at all. I'm not condemned her for anything. But you've said it exceptionally well. The way I understand things, right? My business sense, and hers are not the same thing. So there's
Right.
terminology is
But
important, and
it
that's what
does
you said. Have a
happen.
meteor.
Happens
Absolutely,
with
it happens.
right.
What the
I
other
just
person
don't
has said.
understand why
Right.
there's still an issue when we've
It-
already decided and figured out what
Exactly.
the difference in the terminology is.
And
I-
I hear your frustration and your anger about that, Chesh, and I would be the same. But the fact is that is where we are right now. So we have to move a little forward. You guys got to take a break, a breath at least, and decide if what you want. Because a lot of what I hear you saying, Chesh, is why bother? That's how it was. You didn't get it then. I don't even know what I want right now because you're pissing me off. I mean, that's my interpretation of everything I just said. Well, and from Steve, I hear, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why you didn't get it the first time. This is what you said. This is what you said. And both of you are right. And both of you are so damn wrong right now. And I mean that kindly. I care about you both. I care about NSS. I've been here all along pushing for it to go forward. But if it ain't going to go forward, if it's going to cause this between the two of you, fine. It ain't worth it. You need a break, both of you, right now.
That's why I wanted you a part
If-
of it. Like I said, I wasn't even going to do NSS further. I was done.
That's the words that you need. Stop saying done. Say break. Don't
Oh,
put
he
a
is,
never
might-
he
or
is
a
in his
final.
right. He is in his right to say that.
No,
Like,
but
it's
he's
his choice.
also, it is his right and it is his choice. But what I'm saying is right now he's also expressing that he is confused and doesn't know what he wants to do.
Am.
So I'm asking him to be careful with his words
I
that could be
understand.
misinterpreted.
I know
That's
you're
all.
absolutely right. Yeah, you're
You're
absolutely right.
entitled to everything you
but-
feel.
right.
Totally.
And I
we
think
also
that Dapper also made a good point that you might understand what someone said differently than what they
Mhm.
want
Right.
wanted to convey. Please
Yeah.
be open for that, because
that's why I
when
have the meetings.
listened to,
Right.
I understood what Shesh was trying to say, but I think so Steve
Mhm.
didn't. But don't
I-
attack Shesh for it. That oh Shesh, you didn't say that. Don't tell her
Mhm.
what she said. She
Mhm.
knows what she said.
I know.
That's wrong.
But I
And
also see the ability for it all to be misinterpreted. The use of
Right.
language, the use of
Right.
statements, when things are said, when things, I can see all of that from
Right.
dealing with partnerships. But
Right.
Sit down and talk
Right.
more face to
And
face.
and we knew to come up with an exit strategy. Because if it doesn't work out because we're having this many issues to begin with, then it may not be conducive.
That's
even
all
to
part
go
of a
further, right?
partnership. That should
Absolutely.
be part of a partnership agreement. There should be a
and it's
plan.
better
But we-
to get these big hiccups in the beginning
Why
so
do you
that
think
it
I
gets
wanted this
ironed
meeting?
out.
Right,
Mhm.
Manya. That's that. And
Right.
Manya,
Okay,
but
okay.
that's why I wanted the
But it's-
meeting.
I think so. There's also a lot of frustration amongst the mods that since the Discord started, we didn't
It
see
should
you
have
in here a lot,
I
and
don't
that I
Right.
think that
Well,
frustration
but
also played
hang
into
on,
this.
Manya. You know I'm not a big Discord user. Plus, I've had it.
I know, Steve. It's like, come on, man. It's part of
This is not a Discord issue.
If you
It's
had
not.
the reasons that, okay, I'm not in the mental space to come in the Discord, I understand that, but to not communicate at all and we are just wondering what's going on. Come on, man, talk to us. We are your friends.
It doesn't have to be in Discord, Steve, but you did have a responsibility to communicate if you weren't going to be coming
I
forward.
communicated with Chesh about this.
Okay, then that's
And then-
fine.
and-
I'm
then-
sorry,
and then-
about what?
and then-
About
and-
the Discord
no.
meetings?
Oh,
That's
Chesh,
not
Chesh, come
what-
on, come on.
And then I said, I think it's appropriate to bring into the mods. She was wondering why. This is
Well,
why
we
I
have
want.
to bring it
That's
here.
also-
It's the mod.
Right.
I'm not
That's
talking about this
also not
conversation,
what I.
Steve.
No, I'm gonna
not
take
talking
a
about
break
this
here.
conversation.
I'm gonna mute because what Steve just described is also not the thing I said. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna
see
I'm
that.
gonna walk
I see
away
that.
from this for like a couple of minutes. I'll be back.
Thank you. That's more. See, it gets a little twisted because you're talking about the moderator meeting and they're talking
Right.
about just communicating in general. Of
Discord.
course, moderator meetings have to be happening in Discord.
Of
There's too
course,
many
yes.
of us, damn it.
Right. No,
And
absolutely.
I know you hate Discord, but if you want mods and you want a channel,
agree.
you're going to have
I
to
agree.
get over it and you're going to have to decide when you'll be
Or
here and
find
stick
a
to it.
way
That's
Claire,
it.
to make
I mean,
it work.
Yeah.
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 No, look. I agree. I agree with you 1,000%.
And
okay?
I'm not yelling at you. It's just my normal business
And-
tone.
and-
I'm
I
yelling.
don't put up with the fuckery.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking any of this personally. I'm not even getting
Good.
stressed over it.
Good.
Okay.
Good,
but
because
this-
it's just.
Let me finish,
just-
please. Let me finish.
Yes,
Please.
go ahead.
Manya reached out to me. Excuse my dear friends. And I just told her I'm not in the headspace to like talk to her. I appreciate it though. Did I not, Manya? Right. So look,
When I asked you, I think so when you came in once, and I was like, "Oh, are you coming back?" You said, "I'm going to come in eventually," and that's all I got from you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a Discord more because Claire's absolutely right. But here's my point that I'm trying to relate. I wanted to bring in the mods because I respect everybody's opinion and I wanted input. And I haven't made any. Have I made any decisions so far in anything?
No,
I'm only okay.
but language, Steve,
Hold on.
language is what we hear. And also, we
Can
don't
I
really
just-
care how we got here. We want to go forward, how to go better.
Right.
Like, I don't care about your conversation with Manya and
That's
about
Can
Discord.
can I just
I
make
don't
a quick point here?
Yeah.
Right. This meeting has been going on for an hour and a half. 20 minutes was about the channel.
That's right. in
And
the
an
beginning.
hour and 10 minutes has been a dispute between Steve and Cheshire about finances.
And
This
in
is
all-
this is
That's what I
a
wanted to talk
discuss. No,
about.
wait. This is the discussion that should have happened back in December,
We've
2
already
months
agreed on
ago.
that. Yes, we already established that. We
And with
already
a
know that.
third-party accountant.
Yeah.
Can we also establish that we have decided the way the conversation went, that a good big moderator meeting is not where that should happen? It should
No,
be more.
financials are not for moderators.
It is not. Although I appreciate you
Well,
wanting our input, and there was plenty to say.
I will disagree with you on that. I think it's important because
Steve,
there's
there's too much noise. It becomes
Not
too much
until.
noise.
Yeah,
Oh, is that?
not,
Okay. So, Manya,
and not until you have the agreement hammered out,
Claire,
dude.
hang on,
No.
Claire. I know you're
Yeah.
excited. I get this, but Manya. So you're saying that because you want the moderator should know, but it's just too big of a meeting to make it effective. Is that what you're saying? Because I
Yeah,
can't
it's not
disagree with that.
effective. It's not,
Yeah, no,
Steve,
okay.
because there is
That's
more room for misunderstanding. And
no, I
like
agree with you.
Dapper said,
Okay.
ultimately what's going to happen now? You have to get into a smaller room with Dapper present to get the specifics out. You have to do that again. So what was the point? If you want feedback about the videos and stuff, yes, this is a good place to do that. But for financial and stuff, for those nitty-gritty things, and to actually sort out the misunderstandings, you need a smaller space.
Yeah, well, I
that's
just want
all.
again.
Look,
I want.
I'll make it easier for you. Bye.
Oh,
Well, that wasn't what's the purpose. That was not.
Yeah, so this is
Oh,
what
no,
I'm
that
saying.
was a very appropriate response.
Rez was heated. He needed to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I
here's the
get
thing:
it.
because there's already tensions, I don't see it conducive to an effective.
The question
channel.
is, Steve, why are there contentions at this point of this stage?
Yeah.
Because we need to hammer these things out. Do you not agree?
Why have they not been hammered out 2 months ago?
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
No,
it's not.
It's very relevant.
It's really relevant. You went live with a channel and responsibilities without having an agreement.
Well, we thought there was a meeting in the minds. Clearly, that we all agree there was not. Correct?
It seems to be.
Okay, so that is why I wanted to say, look, if we didn't have a meeting of the minds and things were misconstrued or misinterpreted or not on the same vocabulary or terminology, we need to get together and fix it.
Because from a partnership agreement is also how workload gets balanced and how things get done. It's all included. It's all inclusive. The whole thing. And so that is what is not in place. And this is why you're asking us how the channel's doing, and we're saying not so damn good, Steve.
And I reckon. Why do you think I wanted your input? People have noticing that the chemistry is off. That it's just not like the old original Non Sequitur show. I've noticed this. Okay, this is why I wanted the input.
Okay, but that's why I'm saying you got to figure out where you're both coming from first. A break,
why
conversation.
You need to separate it out. You need to segregate it out.
Yeah.
Getting feedback and financials, very different things.
Okay, you're trying. I get that.
All right.
I am trying. And
Hold on.
Yes,
I've been quiet for a while.
By all means.
Go on, Nikki.
Okay, so here's my outside looking in. Before even the thing I brought now of what was going to be talked about, when there is a schedule, oh hey, we're going to have a mod meeting and such, whatever. Before that, when that happened, before this, oh, this is what we're going to be talking, blah 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 blah. I was fine with it. I came here because I want to be in the know. It's the reason I support both you and Jesh in my own way. Now, granted, yes, I technically support Jesh more because I find content that she does and stuff that she does more entertaining than what you do. But yes, Steve, there's stuff that you do.
I get it.
Absolutely entertaining.
I'm not offended.
But what I'm getting at is like everyone else has been saying, you both need to step back when it comes to the finances and hash out the problem.
Yeah, Nick,
Now,
we
with
agree.
that
I
being said,
agree.
with
Yes.
that being said, this should have been a straight up mod meeting. Now, having a TLDR for the finance bullshit, that should have been fine. Everything else is when you bring the mods in, because we need to know certain things. And like for me, when we made the Discord public, there was no code of conduct for the mods. There's no what's your upper limitations. If someone's being slightly trollish, is it okay? If someone's being objectively a fucking flat out fucking troll, should we do this? You know, there was none of that. Finally, that got sorted. Whatever. There are certain things that should have already started going into priority, because I understand how to moderate YouTube on your guys' channel. I know the trolls. I know what to do. I know when a topic goes too far in a side chat. In Discord, it is slightly different, because it's something may come off trollish, but it could be a legitimate question or a legitimate topic. So I was stuck with that, and then I got made a mod, and I'm like, I don't know how to respond to this.
Yeah, I can't answer that question. I don't. Again, I didn't.
Yeah,
I put. I gave
sorry.
all the. I gave all the thing for Discord to Surgeon General. He can run it any way he wants. I had no. I don't. It's. I had no input on that. So I don't know anything about the Discord. I don't do anything about Discord. I'm barely around Discord.
You
People
had
know
a
I don't.
GDC Discord. What are you talking about?
And I'm never on it.
You're familiar
That
with
might
it.
be one of the issues.
I'm familiar with it, but yeah, but people know that I'm not a big fan of Discord. And so how the Discord's set up, I told Surgeon General, set up any way you think it's appropriate.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's my input on that one. Steve, I know you don't like Discord. I don't particularly like Facebook, but I still get on it. You need to make more of a thing to get onto Discord.
All right. I told Claire that I could do that.
Well, what I mean by is actually learning how Discord operates.
What's the nitty gritty of it?
How discussions happen on Discord is not how discussions happen on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah,
it's completely different. Yeah.
Also, it would be part of the member perks that you are in the Discord. So you
That's
gotta
fine.
be. Yeah.
I've already agreed to all this. This is fine.
All right, I got two things. First off, Steve, I can show you a few things on how to make Discord a little easier and a lot less of a headache. Because I know Discord can be a real piece of shit.
It sucks.
I don't. Yeah, I know.
It's
You
better
have
than
to make
Facebook.
It's true. You have to make it work for you, and I can show you some tricks on how to do that. And secondly, there in that episode where you and Chesh went off the rails quite a few times, after the episode, I went and asked Chesh if you and her were fighting, and because I was kind of curious if that was the case, but from what I saw in the episode, because
wait, which one?
The one about the one where it was like history of science or something like that. Which one where you guys kept going off the rails?
No, but that's another thing which I haven't even addressed. It's like when there's a disagreement, especially when it's about philosophy, I keep getting shut down and I cannot formulate a coherent argument. When you get a chance, Mr. Go to my Facebook page and look at my argument again, what I gave to Sijuwadi. Okay, there's no way I could have articulated that on the Non Sequitur show without being interrupted a million fucking times. When it's something like that, I don't mind pushback, but it's an area that I know a little bit more about, right? And and when somebody says like I'm wrong on philosophy and like the history of science, and they give pushback, it looks a little bad.
It's well, I mean, I didn't think so. I didn't notice because I don't know that much about that kind of stuff. But
fair enough.
But however, it's kind of, but what happened then, where you were very worried about being right, kind of like you were so worried about being right in this conversation. You can be right, but you're really risking like losing everything.
That's fact, but it was being factual. I was the same way on the original Non Sequitur show. I want to make sure that things were put out correctly. Did I not?
Well,
If
in this
somebody's not an
case,
engineer, you tell them.
in this case specifically,
What?
when you're trying to be right about how you're taking what Chesh was saying, you
Want me to say I
being
disagree
right.
from now on?
Well,
Do
no.
it in. Well, how do you want me to approach it?
Is Caitlin Chloe an engineer?
No,
Yeah,
it's like
exactly. Thank you. It's the same thing. These things come up all the time.
I'm not talking about what happened on the episode. I'm talking about what happened here today.
I'm not. No, it's not that.
Yeah, what
no.
happened today was very ugly, and a lot of us didn't need to be here for what happened.
I'm talking about Steve. You were so worried about being right about what Chesh said that you didn't give a crap about listening to what she meant.
Oh no, I listen. No, this is what I don't get. Sirs, I've listened, but I have to. She's not listening to me. That there's a fundamental thing about the distinctions between how we're using these terms, right? She just seemed to get it here, right? But before that didn't seem to be the case, right? But maybe she does now. But that's an important thing to discuss.
Well,
listening.
you said
Was she
that,
listening to me?
but then you reiterated that she didn't mean what she said, and that she meant that other thing that she already clarified that she didn't mean. Which, as far as I was concerned, at this point, that would have been just straight up gaslighting everybody, which I don't think you meant to do. But
no.
But had you been listening, that had to have been what you were doing. But that means you couldn't have been listening.
Mr. Serious, don't do that. Look, I listen. Okay, you know I'm not going to gaslight somebody. Of course, I listen. I want to understand what her expectations are as far as her getting paid. I want her to get her money. Do you agree?
I agree, but I don't agree you were listening.
All right. So, well, okay, we can differ on that. But I want her to get her money. I didn't know how much she thinks is owed to her. Correct? The value.
This is
how much. Let me finish.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, this is what I was gonna say earlier. 50-50 can mean many different things when it comes to a channel like the non.
Think she's owed?
Let me finish. It can mean many different things, especially considering this is an already established channel. 50-50 could mean everything 50-50, like, from past and future shows. 50-50 could mean everything from the point you got the show back. 50-50, could mean it could mean any number of things, and this is the kind of thing that I think should have been hashed out before the show started going.
And you're right, but we're not.
Why has it not been? Yes, I'm right. So why has it not been?
Because we're here trying to figure that out. But
this is not what the moderator meeting is for.
No, not because we are here now doing it. It's because you both have not been talking to each other about this. You had one conversation, and after that, it was like AWOL.
So again, let me ask Manura, how do I know what she's owed? I cannot get a straight answer. Will you get with her?
I have answered multiple times exactly what I was expecting.
I need an amount.
Okay, but
what's the amount?
This is not just about money
this isn't
either.
asking in a different. Now you're asking again another question. You asked me what I expect. When I say, I will explain one more time. Please do not interrupt me. I will explain one more time. And if I see you nodding along, sarcastically, being like, yada, 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 I will stop. Okay?
I'm listening.
When you asked me to double check the amount of money that was coming into the show for December, you said the ad is $5. I went and looked at total amounts. Because I thought that's what you were asking. So when I gave you the total number, you asked, wait, do you expect to be paid for shows you weren't on? I said, I expect to be a 50-50 partner. Then when you said, I thought this ad money was going to go back into channel expenses, I said, yes. Now, what does that mean? It means that there are two different questions being asked. It means that I expect to be 50-50 and have 50-50 control over where money is distributed. Meaning that if I agree that 130 whatever dollars is, we both agree that it goes back into channel expenses, then it goes back into channel expenses up until we decide that, hey, there's enough money coming in from that alone, like So let's say there needs to be $100 a month that goes into the channel after your $5,000 or whatever is paid back. Cool. Well, the show's bringing in $2,000 on this ad revenue. Well, cool. So now we take that ad revenue, 100 still goes back into the channel, and you take 50 and I take 50. Because that would be a 50-50 split, and that is a 50-50 agreement and a 50-50 of the total revenue. It doesn't mean I don't agree or I'm demanding a money that I already agreed multiple times, including in this call. That was fine, and I had no issue with it going back into the show. Do you understand?
I understand. Now, I understand everything you just said. Okay.
Can you
want me
repeat it
repeat
back to? Yes,
Sure.
repeat it
So
back
you-
to me, please.
So I wanted to pay you out, and I said, this is what I come up with for the generated for the ad revenue. I said for that show in December was $5. You went and you looked and you saw $125, give or take, right?
Yeah, sure, whatever the total.
And I said, yeah, but that's not included in what I'm paying you out on. So what is it? What's the? I said $5 because that's what the one video made for that 1 month. Why do you bring up the other one? And I was like, well, that other stuff's going into paying back my expenses as we agreed. Seemed fine with that. You at the time when I asked you, you seemed fine with that. So I was like, why are you asking about the $120? Why did you even bring that up? If I said for the month, according to my spreadsheet, because I have it all annotated on my spreadsheet, the ad revenue from that 1 month of December was $5.
Because when you asked me what the numbers were for the month, I looked at the total month, not the one episode. And when you said, okay, but I'm only looking at this one episode, I'm saying, why are you looking at the one episode? And you said, do you expect to be paid for things that you weren't a part of? And I said, I expect to be 50-50 partners.
That money from the other one was going to expenses. Why would you get paid out of stuff going to expenses? Is what I was asking.
And when you asked about, I thought we agreed that this money was going to expense money, I said, yes. Please understand that to me, you asked two different questions. One was about ownership and the way profits go in general, and the other one was about the specific nuance between different chunks of money. So when you ask me, do you expect to be paid for shows you weren't a part of, my response is, I expect to get 50-50 and be a 50-50 partner, meaning I have 50-50% control over all of the money.
So who makes the deciding who makes the deciding decisions?
It's a partnership.
There always has to be somebody who has a final decision.
That's
Always.
not how a partnership
No, you
works.
can come to an agreement, Steve.
What happens if
How
there's
does,
no
how
agreement?
does a jury work?
So you want okay. I'm gonna try to say this simple in
I
a way
got
that's
it.
non-confusing.
Yeah,
Okay.
please
I
talk
can
down to
tell you.
us.
I can tell Steve. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're telling me that when it comes down to the bottom line, you want 100% control of what the last say is going to be.
Yes.
Okay, then that is not a 50-50 partnership.
But it is for profit sharing, and it is for what I thought we agreed upon. Because you said, wait, let me finish, Manya. She was like, just pay. When I'm paying her from AdSense, I mean, I'm paying from PayPal, right? She's like, pay me from PayPal. I want to factor in the taxes. I'm paying taxes on the amount that's coming in, right? I have to pay taxes
The
on all that
channel
stuff.
is being taxed.
No.
Isn't it?
No. I when I take it out because it's personal income.
That's because you're not writing it off as a business expense. That's a you problem.
It makes no difference that way. It's still taxable income. As soon as it comes to me, I have to add 1099 miscellaneous form. I have to spend an extra $100 a month, a year, just to even do a 1099
Okay, but
anyways.
you can't change your 50-50 agreement because you have to pay taxes like everybody else.
It's not changing anything. It's part of taxations.
You missed what I said.
I have a hypothetical
Continue.
question.
So, okay, hold on. So, whatever's coming out of the
how
channel...
are you doing? Wait, hang on. How are you doing? I have
Hold
to
on.
ask this question. How do you want the taxes done? How are you doing your taxes on that? Are you
Steve,
doing
it
as a
doesn't
business?
matter if
No,
the
it does
taxes...
matter. Manya,
Hold on.
no disrespect. It matters. You say I'm not running off as a
I'm
business
telling
expense.
you. Okay, let me explain it to you.
I'm asking her. Let me communicate with her. How are you writing it off as a business expense? Are you writing off as a business expense?
Why would I have to write off as a business expense? It's not going to my account, Steve. I'm not sending you any money.
And that's why I think so Dapper said that
we have income coming in that's taxable income.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
so,
I'm
but-
not paying income tax. What you're talking about is the additional money that you get that you're not actually getting because it's not profit for you, because you're getting more and then sending me some.
Look,
right?
No, if I get 10,000, let's say I would get $10,000 or something, right? I'm taxed on that amount. Then I send it to you. That's personal income for you. How are you for that personal income from you? How are you doing your taxes? I'm curious.
Okay, first off, at this point, I don't want to tell you, and I don't want
Okay.
to talk to you about the way my personal.
And
the
why
way
are
I
you telling me
decide-
about tax write-offs?
At
Because
that
you-
point, sorry. At that point,
because my taxes have nothing to do with this conversation.
I do.
No,
No,
Steve, I'm afraid not. See,
Really?
okay, hold on. That's why Dapper said make a corporation and work on that. Whatever the channel's earning is coming into you, and you have paid the tax, and then whatever is rest is split 50-50 between you. So it doesn't matter. It's not your money that's going into taxation. It's the channel's money that's going into tax.
Anya, that's not how it's working right now, though. So the money that I'm getting right now.
Not our problem. If you wanted to set it up that way, you needed to do it ahead of time. You can't punish us or me in particular because
There's not punishment.
you didn't.
What's that punishment?
You don't get to change the 50-50 agreement because you don't like the way your taxes
That's not
work
changing
because of
anything,
the way
Chessar.
you've been changing it the whole
No,
time.
I have not. And
we
look,
have been talking about this.
Chessar,
For,
did I not?
You're gonna let me finish or not? Because if no,
Well,
that's
you
fine.
You keep on.
Steve, please let Cheshire finish her thought.
Then
You are talking past a little bit, Steve.
I have explained multiple times that as far as I was concerned, and as far as I knew, and as far as everybody else knew, this was a 50-50 agreement down the line. Now what you're telling me is you want 100% control over the final say of whatever happens with the channel, period. Correct? That is a change.
No, it's not a change. That has never been
That
anything
is
that
a change. That's like-
hang on, yeah, no disrespect. Then there was no meeting of the minds to begin with. Is what my point was. But when it comes to taxes, this is what I just cannot believe this. The taxations. I have to the taxations from me when I even told you, hey, look, at the end of the year, I'm going to be taxed for all this stuff. Are you going to reimburse me half of those taxes if you want to, as you put it, buy in to the thing? And you said, yeah, I'll give you half the taxes back. I'm just doing a month.
Say that.
You
I
did?
never- No,
Oh,
I
you
did not.
did. You most certainly did, because I told you the difference between a 1% and 2%. Because if I was over $14,000, I'd be in the 2%
Steve,
bracket.
you said at the words you used were if you're going to be so particular about words, the words you use is you asked me for a kickback.
Kickback. Well, I mean,
that is the words that you use. Yes.
Well, listen. Yeah, you're going to kick me back what I was out. It's not a kickback because a kickback is a very specific term. And again, terminology. It's not a kickback. Kickback is when you say,
you
hey,
can't
no,
be
let me
specific. You
Let me
can't say you're
finish.
going to be
Cheshire,
specific on one side and then change it for yourself when it's convenient, Steve.
I'm not doing that. Sorry. If you say the word kickback implies a certain thing by saying, if I have a contract to you, give me a kickback, I'll give you the contract. That has nothing to do with the term I use to say, are you going to kick me back some money for me having to pay taxes on it because it's going to my name, not yours?
And
don't equivocate like that.
And all I was saying was that you did not specifically use a 50% that I was going to give you back 50% of your taxes, because quite frankly, this isn't the way you should be doing your taxes, especially since it's causing you so much grief.
This is exactly how I do my taxes. There's nothing wrong with this. I literally have my tax bracket right here. I have it on the screen for anybody to see, to figure it out, how I do my taxes and state taxes.
Okay, so
and he missed the point.
Can someone correct me if I'm wrong here? Steve, you receive a certain amount of money, and then you give Cheshire, a percentage of that.
The net.
Would that would my question is, would that then not make her your employee? Like if you're paying her after you get paid.
Does it?
It sounds honestly, everything that has been described so far sounds like an employee-employer relationship. It does not sound like a 50-50 partnership in any way, shape, or form. It sounds like an employee-employer relationship.
If you're having a final say in everything in the end,
somebody has to have a final
employer-employee.
Sorry? And somebody has to have a final say in something. I've tried to explain that before. If not, how do you get anything done?
You
It's
come to an
Jury's-
agreement by
jury's
talking
work.
it out.
But if Shesh
And
says
what happens if you-
no,
And what happens if they don't? What if I say no and she says no? How does it get arbitrated?
You
Manya?
pull
hold
in a
on.
third
Even if
party
Shesh
to
says
arbitrate.
no, you're saying you should have the veto power to say, nah,
Yes.
we are going this way.
Yes.
That's
So
not.
That's not a
that makes
partnership.
you
All right,
100% owner. She's not a 50% owner.
Then we need to work it out differently. Then
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
that's,
okay.
that's
okay.
why I'm here.
No,
this
no,
is
no, no,
not
Steve,
the
Steve.
appropriate platform for this, I'm afraid.
All right. Well,
Yeah, no.
Well, okay, but if you're gonna say that, hey, that's why I'm here, this doesn't seem, I don't want a 50-50 partnership, stop saying that, yes, I want a 50-50 partnership, then describe
it's not.
everything
Well,
that is
but
not a
Jack-
50-50 partnership.
no, as Jack pointed out, there's many different ways to interpret that. We need to hash out the details if that's really the case. But I will tell you right now that
And this is why I say you're changing the deal. What you
no,
told me,
I'm not changing the deal. You misunderstood the deal, and you know you misunderstood the deal.
and
There was
Steve, if you
miscommunication.
couldn't explain her the deal properly, then she is at her liberty to
She can't
understand it as
explain the
she
deal
wishes.
properly.
Stop telling her what she knows, Steve.
Yeah, that's very unfair.
I find enough. We talked about the taxes, and I told her after taxation, that's what I would give her. I literally have it on the spreadsheet.
So are
10%
you?
for taxes? No, let me finish. Let's 2% for taxes. And I asked, will you kick me back
if you're
after I pay?
taking that amount out, why would I need to kick you back anything? You're taking
one
that
or the
out of my profits.
One or the other. I didn't care how I did it. I was going to do it at the end of the year. But since you brought all this up, I'm going to do it monthly now.
Okay. Sorry.
What do you haven't sent me anything yet? There is no change in anything. There's not like you have to go back and make any changes. I haven't received anything.
Steve,
Yeah, because I don't know what you think you're owed.
You need to. Okay, stop it here. It's 2
Yeah,
hours, 5 minutes already.
Yeah,
Everybody
Manya and I are on the same page here. I think.
worked up. Dapper has offered his services to you both. Use that and hash it out.
I'll get with Dapper and I'll get with one or two other people that know business stuff.
No. Steve,
Steve, no, don't. Okay. Thanks for spitting in my face. Okay, cool. Okay. Hash it out with Dapper.
No.
Hash it out with Dapper.
Wait, just Dapper?
Dapper and Shesh. Obviously, Shesh needs to be there. It's her because Dapper has offered us services. If you want to bring in another party, and if Shesh wants to bring in someone else as a representative, that's on her completely. But don't make it this big next time. Don't do this. This is not fair on anyone. This is not fair on Shesh. This is not fair on you. This is not even fair on any of us.
I would. Okay, so I would just like to.
We tried it. It didn't work out.
Yeah, and we tried. Yeah, Manya, we tried. I want to keep people in the loop, and I said exactly what we'd be talking about, and people wanted to be informed. That was that.
I seriously, I don't care as long as you hashed it out and you both are happy with what you're getting. I don't care. All I care about is the other stuff, the feedback you asked in the beginning. I'm all happy for
I agree with that, and that was great feedback, by the way.
Why am I getting involved in the financials? I fucking have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to point out that it has been a 2-hour meeting so far. 20 minutes of that has been feedback on the channel, and an hour and 40 minutes has been about you and Cheshire's financial discrepancies about the channel. Like, this is not what moderated meetings are for. This is not what we're here for. We are moderators of the Discord and the channel, not to like arbitrate between you and Cheshire and your financials.
Nope. That's fine.
Let me finish, Steve.
I wanted your opinion.
Like, look, I appreciate that you wanted our opinion, but Dapper Dino already said he would offer his services as a mediator between you and Cheshire to work out the nitty-gritty finances. Personally, Al, Sirius, Manya, none of us care about that side. We love the channel because of the channel's content and what it used to represent. We are here because we cared about the channel in the past and we care about its success in the future. Like, that's what we're here for.
Because of the amount of pain.
So if you want to, exactly, Manya.
Jack, let me respond to that because I appreciate what you just said immensely. That's one of the reasons why I want people to be informed. But as you expressed, if that's something that you're not concerned about, I respect that. We won't be adding anybody on the future for that. I do want Dapper and I want another person, Chris Atlee, there because he knows about business.
And Shesh can pick if she wants a representative there for herself.
Sure. I got no issue.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
That. All right, so your feedback from now on is that the meeting should be about the show. But I just want people to know that I'm open and transparent. I'm being as
Yeah.
open as possible here. Because
That's fine. That's respectable.
That's respectable, but
cool.
in the end, it has to be you and Shesh who has to be satisfied with it in the end. What
agree.
we think doesn't matter in the
I
end.
agree.
What you and
Well,
Shesh.
Yeah, we are merely volunteers. We
No, I get it.
volunteer our time.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: if things don't work out, you know, and we happen to go our separate ways, it has to be as congenial as possible. You know,
Well,
ends
then
up the
yes,
mods to do
it
that.
has to be. Then you have to make it good between yourselves and Shesh
Right.
in the end. Again,
Mhm.
again, it's all about you and Shesh. You have to work together.
Yeah, no,
Th-
I'm
th- th-
not disagreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm stopping
Alright.
it right here. Everybody,
I'm
get
out.
off this
Yeah.
call. Get yourself a cup of tea. Get a good night's sleep. Please don't take
Alright.
anything that was said here
Yeah, I got
personally.
work
I'm
in
not upset at
5
all.
This is
hours.
Yeah, no, I'm
the
sorry.
big bad hump, the initial hump that needed to be
Sure.
bump your heads into a crossover. But
Wait.
just yeah.
Right.
But I think so. Steve has learned some shit today. He's learned some lessons. Shesh, she has observed some things. Learn from it and move forward. This is very important. Learn from it.
All right.
And
Thank you, Manya.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
none of us
Here-
want to see the channel die because of a stupid financial problem.
It's
Like,
okay. In the end,
well,
it's
I-
Steve and Shesh that need to be
I
happy
get that,
with it.
but let me make it very, very clear. It's not the financial problem; it's the communication problem. The finances, I don't really
Yeah.
care. Look, I was willing to give her the entire channel.
hey,
and
don't
walk away.
don't tell don't.
Let me
No,
finish.
no,
I was gonna say, don't tell this to us. It's between you and Cheshire and
I just want
whoever arbitrates
I
that
get that.
discussion.
And
I just
Steve,
want
we
people
are
to know it's about the bigger picture. Okay, it's not about
Yeah,
the
it's
money.
about
It's
the
not
bigger
about
picture,
greed,
yes.
anything like that. That's completely irrelevant. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
yeah. All right, everybody, get
Love you
off this
guys.
call now. Now.